รีโมทเอาไว้อะค่ะอืมซื้อที่สัตว์แล้วค่ะโอเคอินเทอร์เน็ตนะเกสป่ะค่ะหรือว่ามิทติ้งค่ะน่าจะเกสเกสส่งจุดนี้ไม่รู้
Swadika, a very good morning indeed to all distinguished guests, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this half-day seminar, University Rankings 360, Benchmarking Performance Challenges and Opportunities in ASEAN. My name is Pachori Raksa Wong, very honored to be here as your MC and moderator. Now, the main objective of this event is to discuss and share ideas about the opportunities and challenges of university rankings, and we've got experts from various fields joining us this morning. It's going to be a very fruitful discussion, productive one indeed, and this event is being co-organized by British Council, Thomson Reuters, and the Office of Higher Education Commission under the Ministry of Education of Thailand. And before we hear from the speakers, we'll begin with the opening remarks. May I now invite the Country Director of British Council Thailand, Kun Chris Gibson, to deliver those opening remarks.
Good morning. Absolutely delighted to welcome you all to this seminar. And the British Council is the UK's international cultural relations organisation, and we have been working for 80 years to forge links between people in the UK and in countries overseas. Our main purpose is to build engagement and trust through the exchange of knowledge and ideas between people worldwide, and we do that by focusing on three areas: on the English language, on arts and society, and also on education. And for us here in Thailand, education is central to the work that we do. And I'm absolutely delighted that we have such strong links with the Ministry of Education, with the private sector, and with other organisations in the public sector, working right across the whole education portfolio, from sending students to the UK. I think currently we have just over 7,000 students studying, Thai students studying in the UK, to UK undergraduates coming here. Last week we welcomed some 250 UK undergraduates who are coming to work in some 180 schools around Thailand, helping and supporting the teaching of English by Thai teachers and working as English language assistants. And this is just part of our outward mobility project, where we are looking to increase significantly the number of UK young people coming to work and experience living in a different culture. So as part of our work in education, we're absolutely delighted to be here working with the Office of Higher Education Commission from the Ministry of Education, and working with Thomson Reuters to organise this conference, University Rankings 360-degree Benchmarking Performance, Challenges and Opportunities here in ASEAN. So I'm delighted to have distinguished speakers joining us today. Phil Baty, editor of the Times Higher Education, Dr. M.R. Jisnuson, Svasti from Mahidol University, Wong senior consultant, Asia from Thomson Reuters, Narderdee, Arj-Harnwong, vice president, human resources, Thailand and Indochina from Unilever Thai Trading Limited, and finally our MC for today, Kumpaturai. I hope that we have, I'm sure that we will have a very interesting morning. Yeah, I hope that we have some stimulating discussion. I was once told that the only silly question is the question that you don't ask. So please, when we have the Q&A session, please do ask our panelists lots of questions. Okay? Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much indeed to you, Kun Chris Gibson. And yes, we do encourage questions and queries or even your suggestions and thoughts. And that would be towards the end during the Q&A session. And next, I'd like to invite to the podium on stage Associate Professor Dr. Piniti Ratananukoon, Deputy Secretary General of the Office of the Higher Education Commission, Ministry of Education of Thailand, to say a few words.
Mr. Chris Gibson, Country Director, British Council Thailand, Mr. Andrew Yo, Regional Director, Thomson Reuters, distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Today, it is indeed my privilege to be here at the opening of the seminar on University Rankings 360-degree, Challenges, Opportunities and Partnerships in ASEAN. May I, on behalf of the Office of Higher Education Commission Thailand, extend our warm welcome to you all, particularly to our speakers from Times Higher Education, World University Rankings and Thomson Reuters. I believe you would agree with me that during recent years, university rankings have gained considerable importance, not only among academics, but also among students, parents, and industry and business sector. World university rankings are one of the significant criteria for students and parents in making their perfect choices for university education, and also for employers in recruiting their staff. As universities in the group have been striving for enhanced quality and academic excellence, university rankings are considered increasingly important, as this will boost university visibility and recognition worldwide. This seminar is considered timely and significant since elevating research capacity of Thai universities to enable them to become world-class university is on the tops of the Office of Higher Education Commission's agenda. And to increase the visibility and international recognitions of Thai higher education, Office of Higher Education Commission Thailand has made great efforts to strengthen the research capacity of our universities to allow the research-intensive universities to get higher ranking in World University Ranking. At this point, I'm delighted to share with you that in the year 2014, two Thai universities have managed to be in the top 100 of Times Higher Education Asia University Rankings, namely King Mongkut University of Technology Thonburi and Mahidol University, with Office of Higher Education Commission's full and continued support of our university's commitments for research excellence. I have a high hope that there will be more Thai universities appearing in the World University Rankings in the not very far future. I'm confident that this gathering provides a great opportunity for all to learn and share experiences on university rankings. Suggestions and views from Times Higher Education World University Rankings and Thomson Reuters are invaluable for Office of Higher Education Commission and Thai universities to raise the overall quality of education and better the international rankings of Thai higher education as a whole. And with this positive note, may I express my sincere gratitude to the British Council, Thailand, and Thomson Reuters for being the steering wheel to lead university rankings to the desirable directions. I also wish to convey my special thanks to all speakers for sharing with us their insights and thoughts on this interesting topic. I wish the seminar every success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for you as well for your opening remarks as well as your presence with us this morning, Associate Professor Dr. Piniti Ratananukoon. And next we have a representative from Thomson Reuters with us this morning as well. Welcoming to the podium there, Kun Andrew Yeo, Regional Director of Thomson Reuters. He will be next to say a few words.
Good morning. Mr. Chris Gibson, Professor Dr. Piniti Ratananukoon, and Ms. Caroline Chipperfield, distinguished speakers and ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Thomson Reuters, I would like to say that we are deeply honored to be able to represent and co-organize this event together with British Council and OHEC. Many countries in this world today have actually recognized the importance of moving from an industrialized nation to become a knowledge economy. Countries like Germany, Japan, Sweden, and Finland, they have done a very good job in that. And I know that Thailand has also recognized the importance in moving to become a knowledge economy. And you cannot deny that in the process of doing this transformation, higher education actually plays a very important role. So I think today's seminar is very timely, as one of my colleagues mentioned, to be able to explain from the university rankings perspective how can education play a critical role in ensuring that we can transform Thailand and ASEAN into a knowledge economy. So I hope the session today and the discussions and the presentations from the distinguished speakers will give you some valuable insights and pointers on how we can move Thailand and ASEAN to the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now I believe you have a souvenir, a little gift to present to Kun Chris Gibson of the British Council. If we can invite Kun Chris back on stage once again to accept that souvenir from Kun Andrew Yeo of Thomson Reuters. And Kun Chris, if you could just stay put, because I'd like to also invite Dr. Piniti up on stage to receive that souvenir, and then we'll take a group picture together. So if you can all stand a bit closer together for a group photo right there. Thank you so very much indeed to Kun Andrew Yeo for supporting us here and making today a possibility. Now we will go right ahead and listen to our distinguished speaker number one. He is Kun Phil Baty. Now he's actually a very busy man, crisscrossing the globe to speak to various high-profile audiences around the world. Now, Phil Baty, he is the editor of Times Higher Education magazine, and he's been with the magazine since 1996 as a reporter, a chief reporter, a news editor and deputy editor as well. And he's also the editor of the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, and he'll be telling us more, giving us more insight about the World University Rankings. He was named among the top 15 most influential in education by the Australian newspaper, and his publications include chapters for Blue Skies, New Thinking About the Future of Higher Education, and several other publications as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Phil Baty.
Thank you very much indeed for that kind introduction. It's a great honour to be here. I'm very grateful to the British Council, to Thomson Reuters, and to the Office of the Higher Education Commission for making this event possible. I do travel all around the world, but it's long been a priority of mine to come here to Thailand because I recognise the wonderful engagement with our data, with our rankings, and I'm very keen to be accountable for what we do and to share good practice. So the Times Higher Education World University Rankings are a huge piece of research with our partners, Thomson Reuters. We're examining 50 million citations to 6 million research papers published over a 5-year period. We've gathered the views of around 60,000 senior scholars from all over the world in our reputational survey since 2010, and we're collecting hundreds of thousands of data points on many hundreds of the world's finest research-led universities. And I think we've created the most balanced and comprehensive ranking system in the world that reflects the full range of a university's activities: teaching, research, knowledge transfer, and internationalization. So today I'm going to look at some of the results trends, some of the lessons for this region. But first of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about where we are coming from as an organization and to talk about how the system works. I think rankings need to be transparent in order to encourage them to be the most useful they can be. So I was in Beijing earlier this year, and this is a very flattering and slightly egotistical thing to say, but the president of the party secretary at Peking University, Zhu Shanlu, described me as like the education minister for the world. Now, of course, he was being very generous and very kind, and it's a slightly over-the-top compliment, but I think it does reflect something really important, and that is the incredibly privileged position I am in to go around the world and share good practice, to share data, to really help to not only encourage healthy competition between universities, but also to give visibility and recognition to rising institutions, and to help institutions in developing countries to actually gain global visibility and encourage inward investment, encourage partnerships and sharing and collaboration. So it is a genuinely wonderful, privileged position I find myself in, and it also allows me to go all around the world and listen and learn from the best leaders and university leaders and governments all over the world. It gives me a wonderful opportunity to absorb their expertise. And this is a sharing process. But it also means I'm privileged to have been at Times Higher Education magazine for almost 20 years, as you heard. And Times Higher Education's been around since 1971. We have well over 40 years of experience of working within the university community globally. And we truly understand that universities are complex, multifaceted places. We recognize that reducing universities to numbers is an inherently simple and simplistic exercise. Rankings can never capture the full range of a university's activities and a university's strengths. But we do think that rankings are serving a very helpful purpose, a really important purpose in allowing institutions to benchmark themselves, to share good practice. So why are we getting involved in the rankings business? Well, first of all, we're seeing an explosion of university participation globally. There are around about, I think, 178 million students enrolled in higher education around the world. The predictions are, fueled by the growth of the Asian economies primarily, this will reach about 260 million by 2025. And I think there's around 4 million students studying outside their home countries, and that's predicted to rise to about 7 million by 2020, according to the OECD. So we're seeing a move from elite systems of education to mass systems of education. We're moving into an era globally of mass higher education. Governments, systems, universities, they need global benchmarking data, they need performance data to help them understand this incredibly dramatic shift globally. And of course, students and their families need rankings to help them inform their decision making. This was a study carried out by the International Student Recruitment Agency, IDP, and found that actually when it comes to internationally mobile students, the reputation and the ranking of a university is actually the #1 consideration. It's more important than course content, it's more important than tuition fees, it's more important than location. When you're making a huge decision, perhaps the largest, most important investment of your life, who to trust with your education, you need the reassurance that rankings provide that you're going to a reputable, quality institution. But of course, it's not just about student movement and student choice. We're seeing research becoming an inherently global activity. 40% of all the research papers published by the top 200 universities on our rankings list were published with an international co-author. World-class research is inherently a global activity. And I was delighted yesterday to hear more about the British Council's program with the Thailand Research Fund to encourage collaboration and international collaboration for young Thai scholars, which I think is a really important part of strengthening the research base. And I I think this is why rankings are becoming not just a student consumer choice. As we heard this morning, rankings are becoming a geopolitical indicator. They're actually encouraging universities to move beyond national conversations. They're encouraging more informed policy debate. They're actually starting to inform institutions in terms of their contribution to the knowledge economy. So we're seeing them becoming a major global news story, not just a curiosity, a marketing tool, not just a student consumer tool. They're setting the agenda because universities are key in places like Thailand, in places in the ASEAN region. They're key to the knowledge economy. They're key to economic growth. So they're becoming a very powerful indicator of countries' contributions to the knowledge economy. And there's one other reason I think why we rank and why rankings have got such power these days. It's a comment was made by the American statistician W. Edwards Deming that in God we trust, all others bring data. We need hard metrics, we need data to understand the changing world we're living in. We can't rely on rumor, on reputation. We can't rely on the old traditional perceptions, particularly in the developing countries. There's great change happening, there's great progress being made. We need to make that visible. We need to be able to understand and recognize those changes. So the Times Higher Education, we've been publishing a ranking since 2004. We're just coming up to our 11th annual edition, but for 2004 to 2009 we published a ranking in partnership with a company called QS, which is known as the Times Higher Education QS World University Ranking. But as we saw the power and influence of our rankings growing, as we recognized the weight that was being placed in the rankings, we did feel we needed to improve what we were doing. We needed to step up our research and make sure we were producing analysis that was fit for purpose, that would bear the weight being placed on it. So in 2009, we decided to end our relationship with QS, and we brought in as a new partner Thomson Reuters, a wonderful partnership. Thomson Reuters is probably the world's most respected information company. Certainly when it comes to science and intellectual property, their data is world-renowned, their understanding of the data is world-renowned. So we forged a new partnership with a new mission and created with Thomson Reuters a new rankings methodology and a new database. Well, the first thing we needed to do is establish what we're trying to capture. We recognize that not all universities have the same mission. We recognize there's great diversity in higher education, so we wanted to look at the world-class research-intensive universities that do operate on a global stage, universities that do publish research to a global audience, that have global talent recruitment, global student recruitment. And on that basis, we came up with the 4 key pillars of what we want to try and capture. It's important, any ranking of a university surely needs to capture the teaching environment. The existing ranking systems at the time, the Shanghai Jiaotong system, doesn't touch teaching. Teaching's not part of that environment at all. And our old system with QS really didn't have a serious look at teaching at all. So teaching was fundamental. But the third mission of universities, knowledge transfer, so important in developing countries, key to the ASEAN countries, is relevant research. I know Thailand has this sense of relevant excellence. Research can be invested in areas that matter on the ground, that make an impact on the ground. So we wanted to capture universities' contribution to the real world, societal and economic impact. And of course, global universities have a global outlook. We wanted to capture and reward a global outlook. And research, of course, is the fundamental building block of these institutions. So we took these principles, we took these desires, we had almost a year of open consultation, of debate, public meetings. We carried out with Thomson Reuters a survey of user needs. We brought together an expert advisory group of around 50 people, trying to turn these principles into a valid, rigorous ranking system. And this is what we came up with, the Times Higher Education World University Rankings methodology. It is probably the most comprehensive, sophisticated, robust and carefully balanced system in the world. We're using 13 separate performance indicators, and they do span the full range of a university's mission. We're the only ranking system to have a serious look at what we call the teaching environment. We do look at knowledge transfer as well as research, international outlook. I'll quickly run through the individual points so you can get a better understanding of what we're trying to achieve. The first section, teaching. We have to be very honest and describe this as the teaching environment. There aren't many great indicators of teaching outcomes that are comparable globally. So we can't use degree classifications, degree outcomes, because they vary so dramatically in how they're recorded and reported globally. We can't use selectivity entry elements because I don't think that's a valid exercise anyway. So we're really describing these as a sort of institutional indicators. They give a sense of the teaching environment. So we are looking at faculty-student ratios. It's a crude indicator, it's a proxy, but I think it does matter to give you a sense of the type of supervision you might expect as a student. We reward a research-intensive teaching environment, the sort of Humboldtian ideal of teaching that is informed by research, of students that are immersed in a research culture that are rubbing shoulders with the leading professors. So we reward a high proportion of PhDs to undergraduates and a high proportion of PhDs provided, awarded by the institution. And we do look at income. In the real world, if you have $10,000 per student, you are going to be offering a different experience than if you have $100,000 per student. That's just part of the real world, but we are applying purchasing power parity analysis to those financial numbers. And we use a reputation survey. We gather views from scholars all across the world, asking them action-based questions, using United Nations data to distribute the survey in proportion around the world to an invitation-only survey. We ask institutions themselves, experts themselves, based on their subject-specific knowledge, where is the best teaching and supervision taking place. International outlook, very straightforward. How successful are you at attracting students from around the world? How successful are you at attracting faculty from around the world? I think this speaks of your market strength, your quality, your ability to attract, but I think inherently it's also a good thing, a positive thing to say that a university with a diverse campus, a university that is international in its recruitment behavior, is something we want to celebrate. And we also look at your internationally co-authored research papers. There's a lot of evidence now that internationally collaborative research has a higher impact and higher productivity, and we reward that in the rankings. And the third mission area, this is an area we want to develop further, but at the moment we have one indicator which is given a relatively low weighting, and that is how much income your university is able to draw in from business. How much are businesses willing to put their hand in their pockets and invest with you as a university. An important indicator of a university's interactions with the real world, interactions with the real economy, getting out of the ivory towers and working with business and industry. This is an area we are planning to expand. We are consulting now on a whole range of new metrics around innovation and societal and economic impact, and we'd welcome very much your input on the proposals we have there. There'll be a white paper produced with Thomson Reuters in the next few weeks, which we'll be happy to distribute. On to the big categories. Research is a core driver of these rankings, of course, so we go back to the reputation survey, where we ask the leading scholars. Like I say, it's an invitation-only, very statistically rigorous sample of academics from around the world. We're using 10 languages to distribute the survey, and we're asking academics to tell us where the best research is taking place. This helps us get a handle on the areas of research that aren't particularly well served through journal outputs. So it really helps us get a rich picture. But we're also looking at your research income, and of course your research productivity, how many papers the universities are getting into the world's leading journals, scaled for the size of the institution. But the single biggest indicator, the flagship indicator, which I think is a really, really powerful one, the sort of lead indicator of the rankings, is citations, impact, research influence. And this is where we're looking at 50 million citations, over 6 million journal articles published over a 5-year window. And this is a really fantastic indicator for me. It's looking at scholarly impact. There's no privilege of any one subject. There's no sense that we value any academic discipline over another. It's fully normalized data, so every single output from your university is compared against the world averages in that discipline. We go down to 250 different subject areas. So it's very important that this is normalized data, so social science output is compared to world social science output, arts and humanities output compared to arts and humanities output. And I think it's a really wonderful way of getting a sense of probably the most important thing universities can do, which is producing new knowledge. How much are your research papers being picked up, shared, contributing to the furthering of knowledge in your fields, and that's what we're capturing in that aspect. And I think this approach, this comprehensive, balanced approach, has led to the Times Higher Education rankings becoming accepted at the very highest levels of government. David Willits, the UK's Minister for Universities, has talked about how our indicators reflect very closely the UK government priorities for science and university policy. We're seeing our data being used by organizations like the OECD, where they can look at correlation between our results and some national policies around funding and access. And we're seeing in countries like India, they've built our rankings officially into their economic competitiveness targets. Shashi Tharoor, who's now the former Minister of State for Human Resource Development in India, said the THE rankings, the Times Higher Education rankings, are the principal yardstick that India should look to. Prime Minister Abe in Japan has used the Times Higher Education rankings as his core target in higher education as part of his economic growth strategy for Japan. And we're seeing, of course, Vice Chancellors accepting them around the world. So the results have been around since October. I won't go into detail on the results, but I will look at the results analysis. The top 10, I have to say, is rather predictable. It's very much based in the US. There's 3 UK and all the rest are US. Caltech is our world #1 university for the 3rd year in a row, beating Oxford and Harvard. I think that says a lot about the fact that we are size independent. We don't privilege scale. We don't say that big is beautiful. And it's a great opportunity for the emerging economies to show institutions making rapid progress. If you choose to make a focused, strategic focus, if you choose to create small specialist institutions, they can make an impact, and that's often the way a lot of emerging economy countries are making a biggest impact in rankings. We don't have to say big is beautiful. If you want to be focused, that's something we will recognize. We're trying to reward your strength against your own mission and your own priorities. But of course, it's not all about the US and UK. We do see a fairly diverse range in the top area. So the #1 in continental Europe, ETH Zurich in 14th, another small specialist institution. Tokyo is Asia's #1 in 23rd, although rapid progress is being made by the National University of Singapore, which is hot on its heels, and as well as Peking and Tsinghua universities. Melbourne is Australasia's #1, Cape Town is Africa's #1, Hebrew University of Jerusalem is the #1 in the Middle East, and sadly for Brazil, actually, Sao Paulo, #1 in South America, has slipped out of the top 200 list. It is very much a US-dominated affair. The US has 77 of the world's top 200 universities. You know, the rich, private, hugely endowed American universities with their huge tuition fees are dominating this list. But the UK does well, the Netherlands, Germany, France doing rather well with significant numbers in the top. Japan is Asia's #1 with 5 institutions. South Korea has 4, Hong Kong has 3. And actually places like South Korea, China, Singapore are making really good progress in these lists over time. For the ASEAN nations, there is a challenge. Only Singapore makes the top 200 with 2 strong performers, but we'll hear a little bit more about that shortly. These are the 3 from the region that make the world's official top 400 list. As we have heard, congratulations to King Mongkut, it makes the world's top 400 list with a very respectable rising position moving up from 351 to 400. We produce bands at the lower ends of the tables, moving up into 301, 350 group. Hopefully we'll see it rising into the world top 300 before long. And because these institutions feature in the world rankings, we are able to provide a detailed breakdown of their scores. The rankings website, which is freely available, does break down the scores. We encourage universities to look beyond the composite indicator, especially in terms of development. Universities may not want to aspire to very high positions. They may have local priorities. It may well be that industrial relations or citation impact are their key areas. We encourage people to break down the scores, but you can see from these 2 world ranked, this 1 world ranked, there's a slide another in a minute, Singapore universities, some key strengths there, incredible scores for industry income, really relevant research. Nanyang Technological University, an engineering school to start with, has been expanding, but has focused very much on applied high impact research with industry, gets incredible funding from the likes of BMW, Rolls-Royce. But one thing that was really key about the Singaporean universities that are successful, Nanyang and the National University of Singapore, they both have incredible international outlook scores. There's a sense that Singapore is really emerging as one of the true world hubs of talent. They don't have any natural resources in Singapore, so they have to focus on their human resources, and they become an incredibly powerful sort of talent hub, bringing in the world's leading scholars with attractive salaries, but creating a critical mass. So real opportunity, I think, for the ASEAN region in terms of people mobility, student and academic mobility. But this is a world exclusive. I've never revealed this information before, but I've put this information together especially for this meeting to provide better context. So as I say, we stop the world rankings in 400th place. We don't rank below, but just to let you guys know in this room, this is the positioning of the Thai universities that we have in our ranking system. So although this is an unofficial ranking, this is a ranking we haven't published before, I am happy to reveal it today, and you can see there that actually the Thai universities are relatively close. They're not far off the pack. They're all comfortably within that top 600 group. And you can see Mahidol, for example, is close to the top 400 list. And hopefully as we hear more about how the systems are developing, how the investment in research is taking place, we are going to see hopefully some improvements. And I do believe that actually the greater harmonization of the region might actually show some strength in terms of critical mass, pooled resources, people mobility. We also have an emerging economies ranking. This again allows us to delve deeper, to try and provide data at a richer, deeper level, and to provide more context. And the analysis is using the FTSE Group's September country classification. So all countries classified as emerging economies. So it does include Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines. And the top 100 list here does include a similar range of institutions, but we can also see the University of Malaysia and University of Putra Malaysia. And this list does allow us again to provide this contextual data, to provide the breakdowns of the scores. So you can start seeing the strengths and weaknesses of more institutions that aren't in the top 400 list. And I think one of the things that is a challenge for institutions in this region, you can say there from Prince Songkla University, is research reputation is very low. Research impact isn't too bad. So it's converting this impact, the fact that we know from the hard data that there is research with a genuine impact that is being well cited, but making sure that translates into a stronger reputation among peers. You need to be ensuring that people genuinely appreciate this research, that it's more visible. And that can come through networking, international partnerships, visibility at international events. I do think there are some great opportunities here. So just looking at some of the trends in the world rankings, these maps just show movement from one year to the other. So the green into the purple show rising institutions, the red into the brown shows the falling institutions. And you can see obviously Asia, a very select group of elite institutions have been rising. We have seen great success for the two Singaporean universities. Hong Kong has some real strength. South Korea has seen some rising institutions. Seoul National University doing very, very well. Peking and Tsinghua in China doing very well. So there is a sense of the top institutions in Asia making genuine inroads. And I think this contrasts to a much more patchy picture in North America. I did talk about how America still absolutely dominates these rankings. But there's a strong sense actually of a greater differentiation between the rich private American universities and the state American universities. A lot of the state institutions have been suffering funding cuts, up to 30% of their state funding removed. And we are starting to see polarization with a lot of American universities slipping, and a greater sense of differentiation between the rich private institutions with their big endowments who are able to weather some of the economic challenges the Americans have faced, but others are starting to suffer, and it is tipping the balance slightly in favor of the rising, stronger Asian economies. And something really noticeable about the rankings is the effect of geography. there's this incredible cluster of world-class universities in the Boston, Cambridge area. And you think in this day and age of internets and information and MOOCs and things, you'd think that geography shouldn't make a huge difference, but it's still playing a really important part. And I spoke to Tan Cho Chuan, the president of the National University of Singapore, about this effect, because you can see it in Singapore. And he's talked about this idea of needing a physical place, of people interacting as human beings. And of course, they've got huge government funding and backing to create themselves as a global knowledge and innovation hub. But there is this sense of a critical mass of people, of individuals, and clusters of academic disciplines around state-of-the-art infrastructure, which has led to a really exciting situation for Singapore. And again, I think this will apply to the ASEAN region. More international mobility within the region, more sharing, more collaboration, more partnerships, hopefully will allow the region to capitalize on its geographical advantages and its cluster of emerging, exciting, upwardly mobile economies with emerging, exciting, upwardly mobile universities. And of course, the hunger, I think, from Western universities to collaborate, to be part of this development, this area, is going to be very important. Australia's position very patchy. I think they're concerned some slips. Their share of the international student market's under challenge, so they'll be potentially very hungry for partnerships in this region. Opportunities there because they still have some fantastic institutions. And the situation in Europe, I think, has been really challenging. You know, the UK does astoundingly well, but a lot of the European universities have suffered a little bit through, again, austerity. Governments not spending as much on their universities as they should. And I think this is a sense where we're seeing that Asia is really rising, where America and Europe have been hit by austerity. We're seeing strong performances by Asian governments committed to funding and supporting their universities. This shows it quite powerfully, I think. This is the results trends. Of course, this is only a sample based on the rankings, the institutions in the rankings. But the average results, we could see Asia rising very dramatically, North America slipping, and Europe stagnating a little bit. So it really does show, of course, it's massively dominated by the US, but we are seeing a slight shift in the balance of power. And I think this explains a lot about that. It's about research income. This is scaled. This is research income of the institutions in the rankings database, scaled for staff. But you can see there that Asia's spending per capita on academics among these institutions is rising and has actually crossed over with North America. I mean, some of the figures coming out of Asia are extraordinary. China's spending on research and development has gone up 18% a year for the last decade. Asia's share of global research and development spending has been rising. The US and Europe's has been falling. I think Asia's total spend now has exceeded America's. So there's really exciting opportunities in the region. And I think this shows how much potential there is. This is the international outlook of the universities. And there's a strong sense that Asian universities are still considerably far behind European and certainly Australian universities in their international collaborations. And for me, the international collaborations, they're only a small part of the rankings in terms of the weightings, but they're the absolute epitome of success in rankings. If you're bringing in international talent, if you're bringing in the top international students, if you're sharing good practice and collaborating globally, that will drive success in all the other rankings indicators. It will make your reputation grow. It will make your research impact higher. And I think actually this area is the area that's most ripe for development and will actually really start to deliver even more success for the region. All the data is available for free on our website. We encourage people to dig deeper and delve below the overall ranking scores, to look at profiles. I think profiling the institutions is important, to put that data into context, to put the scores into context. And you can rank against our different criteria, so if you only care about the teaching environment, or if you have certain priorities, certain strategic priorities as universities, or if you're students with key areas that you're more concerned about, you can change the criteria and rank against all our different elements. And I just want to conclude with another nod to the future and this sense of potential, the sense of opportunity. This is the distribution of the top 200 in the world in the 2013-14 rankings. You can see, as we've already heard, very dominant by North America, Western Europe, with an exciting but small number of institutions in East Asia, underrepresentation in the ASEAN marketplace. But if you adjust the world map to take into account national wealth, you see a very different picture. This is a map that we had done by a guy called Ben Henning, who's a research fellow in the School of Geography and at the University of Oxford. It's called a gridded cartogram transformation, and it just changes the face of the world based on population. Oh, sorry, this one is based on wealth. You can see world-class universities follow the money. The rich Western Europe, rich North America has a lion's share of world-class universities, but I think you can see the growing Asian economies. It demonstrates that there's still gaps. There is still an opportunity to turn a lot of this economic growth, this economic opportunity, into higher impact, more competitive universities. And then when you flip the map again to look at population, you can see that the world is very badly served in terms of people's access to world-class universities. So India and China, for example, need a lot more. But I think you can see in the ASEAN region, why is Australia, with such tiny population, got so many universities? There's going to be a rebalancing, I think. And this really reflects, I think, the need for these regions to actually turn this economic growth, make sure universities are fueling further growth, but ensuring that the growth is fueling the universities in a virtuous circle. And I think this really demonstrates that there is wonderful potential in this region, and I'm hoping that the rankings will be able to plot and demonstrate to the world the potential and the progress of universities in the region. So thank you very much for your time. I'm very keen to take questions later, but also at any time I'm available for your input and your interaction. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed to you as well. Phil Baty, once again the editor of the Times Higher Education magazine, giving us insight into the World University rankings and also telling us how it came to be, summarizing it for us there. And yes, as he mentioned, you will be given the opportunity to ask him questions a bit later on after the panel discussion. For now, we move on to another esteemed gentleman with us today, Dr. Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson Sawattiwat. Now, Professor Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson, he was educated at Rugby School and Cambridge University, obtained his bachelor's degree in biochemistry, graduating with honours, his PhD in molecular biology, and he also received a Doctor of Science degree from Mahidol University. He has held various appointments at Mahidol University, including chairman of the Department of Biochemistry, vice president for international relations, dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and he's helped tremendously in shaping Mahidol University's policy on international university rankings for 10 years. Now this year, as Phil Baty said, Mahidol University made it into the top 500. Thank you very much to you for revealing that to us, as they cut it off at 400. And now we do have Dr. Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson. He's going to tell us more about Mahidol, and I'm sure we're going to be positive here that Mahidol can eventually move up the ranks, all right, especially with him being very active there. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a warm welcome, Dr. Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson Sawattiwat.
Well, first of all, let me thank British Council for inviting me, and the Commission for Higher Education for recommending that me to British Council. As I said in the CV, I was involved in helping Mahidol University try to optimize its rankings for maybe 8 or 10 years through 3 presidents. But now, actually 3 years ago, I tried to forget about world university rankings because it does take a lot of time to try and understand them and to keep up with them. But unfortunately, the Office of the Higher Education Commission invited me to help with the new World-Class Universities project. So I have to start thinking again about rankings. Anyway, I'm taking your title, 360 degrees. 360 degrees means backwards, forwards, and also different kinds of ranking. So for Thai academics, I think it's important that we have an overview of the ranking systems that are available now. And then they can consider their performance in different rankings and see how to improve. Well, rankings, of course, try to measure quality of some kind. And this is quite obvious to you. Quality in terms of input of student, teaching, staff quality, facilities, and the internationalization. And also output and outcome. Again, in terms of student, research output, and university reputation. And things like staff awards, like Nobel Prizes, are also considered by some ranking systems, and like Phil talked about, the industrial partnership or income. But I think my viewpoint after 8 or 10 years in the ranking system, trying to understand or keep up with rankings, is that it's very difficult to find KPIs that are suitable for different nations with different economic status, developmental state, culture, and tradition. Also, when you try to work across the globe, then it's difficult to verify the data with any central administration agency. And yet we all know that everybody loves ranking. Any ranking comes up, people will talk about it. Students will talk about it, their parents will talk about it, everybody's going to talk about it. And in my opinion, there's no best way to make ranking. So the results of each ranking method will depend on the KPIs that are selected, and the performance of the university in that each ranking system will depend on whether those KPIs fit in with the strength of the university or not. I think we also need to consider what kind of entity is making the rankings. We have the commercial entities like Asia Week a long time ago, the Times Higher Education QS, which Phil talked about, which later separated into the QS system and the Times Higher Education system. Phil already said that Times Higher Education is a magazine, that higher education magazine that's been going on for a long time. QS is involved in the graduate education business. We also have a number of academic institutions, like the academic ranking of world universities, started by Shanghai Jiaotong University, the performance ranking of scientific papers in Taiwan, first from the Higher Education Council, and later the National Taiwan University Rankings. We also have webometrics, based on information on the web. And most recently, we have the green metric from the Universitas Indonesia. What is it all about? Well, each thing is obviously different. But as I said, I was involved for a long time, and I tried to help Mahidol University, especially when it was found that Mahidol University was not in the ranking the first year the ranking came out. So I was vice president for international relations at Mahidol. Asia Week came out, no Mahidol University. So we have to contact the people organizing the rankings and negotiate with them to get the Mahidol into the rankings. When I was dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, Times Higher Education QS came out, again no Mahidol University. So we have to make an effort to bring Mahidol University into the rankings. And that is 2 presidents, okay? The 3rd president also asked me to help to try and optimize the performance of Mahidol University in the world rankings. And we addressed a number of questions which were actually problems anyway. First of all, I think visibility. Mahidol name only originated in 1969. Also, Mahidol is comprised of many separate faculties, and sometimes the faculties are much stronger than the university itself. So there's a lack of unity that had to be addressed, and so on. And of course, data collection process is important because some rankings are rather difficult or they have interpretation. You have to interpret the KPI. Asia Week, my first involvement with the rankings, as I said, mainly to try and get Mahidol listed in the rankings. And there they had multidisciplinary universities. And the first year we were in, I think this is the first year, Mahidol University came 3rd with Chulalongkorn University being top as usual, and Thammasat following. For the foreigners, the Thammasat and Chula are the historical universities that are highly respected. There's also the science and technology universities. They split them off. And we had KMITL, Mahanakorn, KMUTT, and KMITNB. Okay? We were looking around and we stumbled across the academic ranking of world universities. And when I looked at the website, I really appreciated that. There's this statement in the first line: world-class university is a dream for generations of Chinese. It's not only for pride, but also for the future of China. So that's what it's about. It's a benchmarking that will try to, that the Chinese universities can make to try and improve to be of world-class quality. There's a strong emphasis on Nobel Prizes and publication quality. And many Asia-Pacific universities are there, but there's no Thai university ranked in the top 500. So Thai people were not really interested. They didn't want to know, or rather they didn't know about it because there were no Thai universities there with a strong emphasis on the Nobel Prizes. So here you are, the criteria for the emphasis on excellence, 30% on Nobel Prizes or Fields Medal equivalent, okay, of students or staff, highly cited researchers, papers published in Nature and Science, articles in Science Citation Index, and so on. So it's very strong emphasis on research, and no Thai universities were there. This is a list of the university, 20 universities in 2010. And this, of course, had universities like Harvard, UC Berkeley, Stanford, and so on. A lot of American universities, 2 or 3 British universities, and in Asia, I think the University of Tokyo somewhere, yes, at the bottom of the top 20. So, you know, that kind of ranking emphasizes strong research and excellence. But I think Thailand really became aware of the university rankings with the Times Higher QS World University Rankings. And we know Times Higher Education is a highly respected newspaper for academics. Started when I was a student 1971. QS operates international education business, and the first results were presented using the ISI Web of Science database. And I think the reason that Thai people were so interested is because it's the only university at that time with so many Thai universities in the top 500. Later, as Phil said, the Times Higher Education and QS split up in 2009, and then the databases, they used different databases there, from there. QS using Scopus and Times Higher Education using ISI Web of Science. So this is ranking the criteria for the Times Higher Education and QS ranking. Research quality made up of peer review, 40%, citations per faculty, 20%, graduate employability, 10%, international outlook, 5% as faculty, 5% as university, and teaching quality, 20% based on student to faculty ratio, which of course we know is not, doesn't really describe the whole about teaching. Then the peer review was actually split into regions, geographical regions, and also academic regions. Here are the results from 2008, the Times Higher Education QS World University Ranking. This is a little bit, my slide is, I guess, similar to Phil, that we kind of jump from one country to another, not really going 1 to 200 or 1 to 20, because it doesn't fit into the page. So here we show the top 5 universities in 2008, Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford, and Caltech. I think it's Caltech's become top, is that right? Yes. Yeah, in a few years. Then we have ANU in Australia, and the Tokyo, University of Tokyo, top in Japan, Singapore, top is NUS, and Beijing University is top in China. I also list 3 of the Thai universities there, and I think this is a little bit difficult for you to see, but we split it up into the different KPI and the scores of the universities in each KPI. This is actually ranking, that is the position of the university. No, I'm sorry, this is the score, it's the score of the university in the different rankings based on different KPI based on 100 as maximum. I think you can see, for example, Mahidol University does well in terms of publications, but it does not do so well as Chulalongkorn University in terms of the review, employer review. And this is my problem in 2005, no Mahidol University there. So we had to make a lot of effort and try to improve visibility of Mahidol University, and eventually we got into the QS rankings and improved in those years. I think this stresses the fact that each ranking will have to select a starting point. And if you're one of the university in the starting point, you're in the system. But if you're not, then you're going to have to work to get there, okay? So this shows some of the changes in the ranking in the Times Higher Education QS system. So I would like to say that Times Higher Education is really one of the pioneers in the ranking system, starting the Times Higher Education QS system, which has made Thailand become aware of the importance of rankings. Later, as we saw the split up Times Higher Education and QS system split up, QS essentially retained the same KPI, but also originated a new ranking, the Asian University Rankings. And what was different, it was that the peer review component decreased and the publications component increased. And as a result, what happened was that really Mahidol University improved or got a better score than Chulalongkorn University. And the purpose of this slide is to address the other question, ASEAN. So how are the ASEAN universities doing here in this QS Asian University ranking? Singapore, like Phil said, way up to the top. And then we have 5 Malaysian universities, 3 Thai universities, Mahidol University, Chulalongkorn University, and Chiang Mai universities, UP from the Philippines, and University of Indonesia from Indonesia. In a Thailand sense, we can also follow the performance of Thai universities way to 1 to 10. And I was glad to see for the first time that Phil also showed the performance of Thai universities deeper down into the Thailand's higher education system. So Mahidol and Jula, up in the top, competing with each other, and so on. Thailand's higher education, when it split off, developed a rather complex, I think, ranking criteria and percentages. And this is the first year, and I think this ratio was modified in later years. But really, I don't think I have to talk about it because Phil has talked about it a lot. And also because, well, I would stress that citations is a major factor in this ranking system, as you say. But there's reputational survey is still included both in terms of research and in terms of teaching. And of course, a number of PhDs and so on, that's also relevant. Again, showing the same kind of slide, jumping from country to country. The first year, the Times Higher Education ranking came out. Harvard, top for US. University of Cambridge, top for UK. ETH, top for Switzerland. University of Hong Kong, top for Hong Kong. Tokyo for Japan. Postech, Korea. NUS, Singapore. Melbourne for Australia. Beijing for China. École Polytechnique for France, Göttingen, Germany, and Karolinska Institute for Sweden. No Thai universities, right? But in the first year, we also saw that for the ASEAN universities, there were 4 universities, the NTU 174, NUS 34. And Mahidol and Chulalongkorn universities were still in the top 400 at that time. In the 2012 to 2013, we now have KMUTT as the only Thai university in the top 100. But there's also a Times Higher Education Asian Universities ranking with the KMUTT and Mahidol University there. So I think, I'm glad to see, as I said, that you have other Thai universities, performance of other Thai universities in the system. I hope they'll be readily available on the website. There are other university rankings, or not university rankings perhaps, but rankings that I'll mention, I think worthy of mention. One is the performance ranking of scientific papers arranged by the Taiwan. First, the Higher Education Evaluation Accreditation Council, and later called the National Taiwan University Rankings, with a different team doing it. And here, this is focused only on publications. So we have research productivity, articles in last 11 years, articles of the current year, research impact, citations in the last 11 years, citations in the last 2 years, and average number of citations per in the last 11 years. H-index originally was 20%, now it's 10%, and research excellence, number of highly cited papers and articles in high-impact journals. Mahidol University is the only university that was in this scientific paper ranking from 2008 and 2011. It was ranged between 66th and 86th in Asia and 423 to 500 in the world. So it almost dropped off at one time from the ranking. Now changing to the Taiwan rankings, they're changing to the NTU ranking. I show you a list of the top universities as well. And you see again, that it's mainly the American US universities. Harvard is top, Johns Hopkins is second. And you also have British universities like Oxford, Cambridge, UCL, and Imperial in the top 20. Mahidol University is still struggling to stay in the top 500, 423 in 2012 and 494 2013. So that gives you another dimension on ranking. Another dimension I think is interesting is the webometrics ranking. I think interesting perhaps because of the purpose more than the result. Because they're trying to, they think that the web is the best showcase for universities, and trying to promote universities to have more information on the website, and trying to promote the open access kind of movement. And it's also interesting in that it covers more universities than other rankings, 20,000 universities. And the ranking is based on impact, or which looks at citing links and referring domains, about 50% total. And then 50% as activity, presence in web pages, openness, documents there, and excellence, highly cited papers. And this is a slide from Isidoro Aguillo, who was one of the ones developing this. And again, you see that American universities performing particularly well in the top 20, with Oxford and Cambridge also being there. Sao Paulo, that Phil mentioned, is also there. Now, if you come to the Thai universities, well, I think it's quite good that we have 6 Thai universities in the top 500. Juฬาfirst, Mahidol second, Gasetsa third. The top positions seem to change from year to year somewhat, I think. But what is not good is the right-hand column, which is a ranking, the component that deals with excellence. And there are no Thai universities in the top 500 in terms of excellence. I add this just for fun a little bit, that you can devise your own ranking systems, like the Universitas Indonesia devises the UI Green Metric World University Ranking. I think there is it's interesting in that they're trying to focus on the efforts of the university to be green in their operation. And I think being green right now is really the key point in life right now, because the world is, has a problem with sustainability if we do not become green. So they have information provided by universities on green statistics, energy and climate change, waste management, water usage, transportation, and education. And we have a number of Thai universities in the top 200. This is from 2012, I think. Mahidol 36, KMUTT 38, Chulalongkorn 41, Gasetsart 44. So the top 50 out of 200, not bad. Then Mahasarakam, KMU, TNB, and Burapha also there. So that's another dimension. So I just talk about some problems, and I asked for a little bit of time to talk about the, mention a little bit the world-class university project going on in Thailand. Well, I think the problem about world rankings is that there are a number of points that are important. First of all, there's really no way to verify data from universities, or that's probably wrong. It's difficult to verify data from universities, and it's quite possible that some universities may misunderstand the parameters and the definitions for each criteria. Another important point for us academics is that research publications and citations come mainly from research in medicine, science, and engineering. So they're useful really for these fields. Now you have creative work in arts and humanities and possibly in social sciences. Quite often they're not published in journals. So in this case, the peer review process may be useful. But on the other hand, peer review in whatever way, in research or recruiter review, may be based by the overall reputation of the university. Teaching quality, Phil said, very, very difficult to measure, almost impossible to measure. So different rankings have different ways of measuring it. I don't think there's really a very good way. Some may complain that Nobel laureates really too much, you know, it's trying to aim too much for excellence or whatever. But I think it's important that, because I always believe that great universities will change the world. Okay, now we come to the Thai university ranking. I'm sorry, this is in Thai for our foreign colleagues. But believe me, this is one of the most difficult slides to understand, even if you understand Thai. It's very complex, and I think if you just look at the words that you understand, that will probably be pretty useful, almost enough. Over the next 5 years, the Office of Higher Education Commission is planning to request, 140 billion baht to support the higher education in Thailand. One component, the 68 billion, will be for new universities, such as the Ratchapat and Ratchamongkol universities. 47 billion baht is going to be for the well-known public universities, the 2024 public universities. And on the top is the world-class university project, 25 billion baht over a period of 5 years. And overall, I think we're looking at excellence, aiming for excellence in 2030, and hoping to develop not just world-class universities, but also AEC regional universities. I've been involved in this world-class university project and thinking through the project. We have some progress, but I don't want to go into too much detail because it's not been approved by the government or anything. But I think this slide is the important one, is that we're not looking at putting in a package of money into research and, you know, wait and see 5 years later what happens. We're trying to develop world-class universities and taking the model of Jamil Salmi, where you have 3 components: favorable governance and concentration of talent and abundant resources. We would like the world-class university project to try and make developments in all these three areas, or rather universities to develop in these areas. For example, favorable governments, supportive regulatory framework, autonomy, leadership, strategic vision, and the team also added the word culture of excellence. Concentration of talent, staff, students, researchers, and internationalization. Abundant resources, public, money, endowment, tuition, research grants, but also hopefully money from intellectual properties. And also resources where it also includes conducive environment. So this is the overall scope that we're trying to improve in all these areas. And hopefully we are going to develop the project on the left-hand side here over this next year. 250 million has been written down here, but we don't have the money yet. But essentially that is for developing the project. And this will include starting a task force at the Office for Higher Education Commission, looking in terms of the effective administration structure like the EdPECs that many of you know, and also try to develop a data management unit at the Office of Higher Education. And in this period, we are hoping to ask for overseas advisors to help develop the project so that we can try to address the three components that we wish to develop. Just briefly, that as you see here on the left-hand side, we're looking at this 250 million baht component for this year, which we hope we will get. And that is to try and develop the strategy for the project and revise it until it is workable and with the help of overseas advisors. So hopefully we'll come up with an action and a business plan, and then universities can submit projects according to the guidelines that are recommended by the OHEC committee, and then the project will be approved and the projects can then start next year. And another component that is important is assessment, continuous assessment. So there'll be interim assessment and there'll be a performance monitoring committee. And that's why this ranking systems and what publications information is going to be useful for trying to monitor this project. We also hope to get matching funds from university to promote the project. And of course, we want to try to promote internationalization, the cooperation between with different countries and so on. And also trying to develop international joint and dual degree programs. And in addition to that, there's a plan to develop an office of university database. So the OHEC is planning to develop a kind of a database for all Thai universities to have more information available to make judgments. So these are actually 3 periods. Each period should be 5 years. Sorry, it's written as 4 years. And eventually, after the database is developed, we may start a national university ranking system. And at the end, 2027, there'll be an assessment and evaluation. So I think, we are optimistic, but 140 billion baht is not a small amount of money. And whenever you mention money, then people, are not so happy about providing it. But of course, we in Thailand spend a lot of money on many other things. And it's time that we invested in our education system, in our universities. Finally, let me just close by this Sorry, I've gone over time a little bit. Just go to this conclusion that I think university rankings measure different parameters and different weightings. So success in each weighting system depends on the strength of the university in areas which have high weighting. Research is a key parameter in all rankings, so we need to try and improve research in Thai universities. Good graduate education also promotes research excellence, and the international element is undoubtedly important because it leads to international collaboration, staff and students exchange, and overall globalization. So concluding again from my first slide, really, second slide, there's no best university to make no best method to make rankings, and the results will depend on their KPI and their weighting. We need to understand each system and see how we compare to other universities and see what our weaknesses and strengths are. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much indeed. Mom Ratchawong Jisnuson there telling us where Mahidol University stands with its rankings, and also comparing Mahidol University with other local universities as well as universities in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Now, he also touched on the different ranking systems out there. Of course, Times Higher Education, QS, as well as some other unique rankings. Now, I think Thai universities did fairly well in terms of caring for the environment, didn't it? Now, with the green metric rankings there. Now, I recall, Kun Phil, you mentioned that the main difference between QS and Times Higher Education ranking is that the Times Higher Education one really focuses more on the pedagogic side, the teaching side. Perhaps maybe later you can further expand on how that's done, as Dr. Jisnuson also said it's fairly difficult when it comes to evaluating the teaching process. Now, we also heard about his thoughts on the problems with rankings, world rankings, and also he wrapped up with the Thai government's world-class university project, among other projects as well, and hopefully they can begin those projects when they secure funding. Now, next we move on to another equally interesting presentation on performance analysis of universities in Thailand as well as in the ASEAN region. We have with us, very lucky indeed as well, Dr. Wong who's the senior consultant at Thomson Reuters. He's focusing on intellectual property and science. Now, as senior consultant, Dr. Wong represents Thomson Reuters on thought leadership and research analytics and spearheads key business development in ASEAN as well as in North Asia. Dr. Wong has 10 years of experience in the information industry in Asia, covering Southeast Asia, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong as well. Now, he holds a PhD in material science from the University of Manchester, and he's been a speaker at many regional conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Wong Wei-Fu.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to thank British Council giving us the opportunity to partner in these events. And of course, more importantly, is that there have been years that we work very closely with Time Higher Education from Thomson Reuters, working on the data that helping us to define so-called ranking, and hopefully that provide a lot of insights on so-called performance of research and education. When I think about ranking, it's kind of reminded me about, FIFA ranking. I'm pretty sure we all know about that because everybody stay awake at night on the wrong time. And I hope nobody kind of like start dozing off right now. Now, I think about ranking of FIFA. Do anybody care about whether you're top 200 or top 300? I think ultimately people only care who's the champion. It's almost like a winner takes all, that sort of kind of ranking. Whereas in the university ranking, you don't just look at the top one, but you're looking at almost different region, different country. At some point, you kind of do the deep dive into different department and individual. With my experience in so-called the evaluation and assessment, particularly for research, it's never been easy, as been illustrated by Professor Svasti earlier on. There's so many ranking out there. And we are only just talking about university ranking. We haven't even got into about so-called department, individual, article, journal. In fact, those are the things that what Thomson Reuters has been doing over the years. And you find it especially challenging to define something called ultimate metrics. My preference of calling those things is indicators. Those are the indicators helping us to perform better. Those are the indicators that helping us to focus our resources, particularly like research and education. They are very costly. They cost billions of dollars of the taxpayer monies. And it is important for us how to spend those money wisely. So my slide actually will be a whole bunch of data and could be overwhelming. So I have to apologize in advance. But I thought it's good to give you some sense how the so-called performance we're talking about in this region. And to some extent, we could even look into some individual numbers and comparing with some world-class information. This is a very macro information, and I think this is open information that we all know that it's so much investment on knowledge, on R&D over the years in almost every part of the world. It's almost become a pattern that emerging region started with Asia, and now we start looking at Latin America and so on. There's so much focus about R&D, world-class university. And it's all about to see the economy evolve into a knowledge base. And of course, people also start looking at the number of researchers, the number of university students, the number of university and so on. And even more recently, we're talking about intellectual properties. And words like innovation all comes out very often, even in the university. And I think most of you know that in most universities today, they even have technology transfer, talking about commercialization, which is very important even in the university ranking. Now, on the right-hand side, you see the yellow box, which I kind of want to highlight a little bit, and it actually been coming out quite often when Phil talking about university ranking. That's collaboration. And it is very true that in some of the slides I'm going to show later on that in the research today, through collaboration, definitely you see a lot more cited by people, by peers, and a lot of good research really coming out from collaboration, whether it's regionally and globally. So you look at this slide, which basically we pull it out from Web of Science. That's our database from Thomson Reuters. The red colors is actually the international collaborated paper. And the blue color is the non-collaborated. And you look at different countries, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, Korea, and so on. You see that, actually interestingly, Thailand has done quite a lot of international collaboration. We actually could do a deep dive onto that as well. And interestingly, a lot also come from clinical science with some collaborations with some overseas corporate as well university. And more important, if you look at the site per document, it's a lot more higher versus the non-collaborated publication. So that's obvious evidence and pretty consistent across different countries. Now, if you look at all these countries closely and by subject, and this is what I think information can be very powerful too, because when you think about ranking, you sometimes just we could oversimplify it and say, well, am I a top 10, top 20? Is it better or not? That's not good enough unless you be able to drill down the details. I mean, it can be very sophisticated, and sometimes you are looking at by subject and so on. So this is one example that if you're looking at the research output in Singapore particularly, the top, the green color is actually the so-called the non-international collaboration, and the blue one is the collaborated one. So not every subject people do collaboration. And collaboration can be very important because you need to find the right partner and find the right researchers, and vice versa. Your collaborator would like to look at what is your strength and what is your facility and what are the subjects that you want to talk about. So it's actually a mutual thing. So it's not easy, but then again, it's important that you start reaching out. And like I think what Professor Svasti mentioned earlier on with his experience, the visibility is important. Making it known is important. So this is a kind of example you see that like in Singapore, there's a lot of collaboration with economy and business and geosciences. And then when you start looking at the impact, which one produce more impact, and obviously you see that the blue is a lot overshooting because these are the collaborated paper that tends to have more citation. Similarly, when you look at Malaysia, and that could be a little bit different by subject. I mean, it seems that a lot more collaboration in immunologies and some other subject, but generally you see that the trend here is not as high as in Singapore. But then again, you can see the same thing, that the impact through collaborations will a lot more higher. Thailand. Well, in Thailand, I think the geoscience, molecular biology, genetics, and these are some of the topics that came out quite often. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these collaborations with some of the pharmaceutical, clinical trial as well. So that actually quite dominated by those kind of work. And obviously you see that as a result, your publication through those collaborations, you have a lot more impact. Now let's shift the gear, looking at a little bit different, Cambodia. I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't consider Cambodia as a top research country. But again, it's the same thing happened, that even in their environment, the output is not as high. If you look at the S-axis, it's only like 300 over. If you kind of go back to the previous one, we're talking about thousands over the paper. There's a lot of collaboration going on there. And interestingly, you see that clinical medicines, immunologies, social science all pops up. And the citations are relatively high as well through those collaborations. So the point here is that it is important to start reaching out, but you also need to understand where exactly every university and every department want to focus. And all this information are available. So you think about ranking, what below it is a bunch of big data. I think Time Higher Education has been doing a great job looking at the important element, like what mentioned by Phil, those 4 pillars. I mean, not only looking at research, which is quite important, but it's also the teaching, the global outlook, and the knowledge transfer as well. But even when you're looking at the research part of it, it's just not about citation alone. It's how about getting the attention and getting the right collaboration, be able to do the world-class research. So you look at, again, the R&D landscape in ASEAN. Singapore obviously is pretty much on the top. in terms of output and also the site document. And the next to it is Malaysia, Thailand. I wouldn't call it as a ranking here, but that gives you a snapshot that how much research activity been invested by the ASEAN region. Well, obviously, by looking at what you're seeing here, you can say your closest rival will be Malaysia. But again, we are not looking at the number alone. If you start doing a deep dive, the profile can be quite different. I mean, it all depends on which is the area you want to focus, which are the topic that matter to the country, and what is your strength, and how you want to collaborate across the region, and could be ASEAN or beyond. But generally, over the years, I think the Thailand research output has been increasing, which is a good thing. Despite that, people know that research is never be a cheap hobby. It's very expensive. It costs billions of dollars for equipment, talent, and resources. But one thing you need to take note is that, and this is pretty consistent we see in most countries, including China, it's easy to ramp up the research output, but it's not going to be easy to increase the impact. Now, that's kind of what we call quantity and quality. Research output could go up significantly, which could through a lot of R&D investment. But if you're not able to increase the impact, then that's what sometimes we call the return on investment. So if you look at the by subject, there are certain topics that's been important in Thailand, like clinical medicines, chemistry, and so on. It tends to skew toward in one end of the industry. But the impact is not necessarily higher when you think about you have the high output. In fact, some of the area that you have a low output, your impact still looks relatively good. So I think a lot got to do with the topic of the research, the collaboration, the level of getting the visibility known to other research community. So there's a lot of factors over there helping to improve the impact. I mean, citation is actually one way as an indicator, but not an ultimately the ultimate way. And most of us know that citation works well for science, but you think about for social science and art and humanity, that can be debatable. So I also trying to look at the performance by university. And this is actually in Thailand. And early on, I think we talked about the ranking of the university here. But if I look at the research performance alone, interestingly, you still see the same name popping up, Mahidol University, Chulalongkorn, and so on. And obviously, research play an important part on the university ranking. And this information can be helpful, particularly for research planning, because when you think about where you want to focus, where you want to put up your strength and put out your investment, there's a lot of detail behind here that can tell you which are the subject area between the two universities are strong. I mean, even if you just focusedly only looking at Mahidol and Chulalongkorn, their profile can be quite different. And this is an area that we, Thomson Reuters, can assist you by exploring some of the details and helping you to make a decision where to focus. And actually, in some cases that you need not to do everything by yourself, and it could be a collaboration with some of the universities even within Thailand. Now, we've been talking so much about research, and actually, that is only part of it. And research, the behavior here is that it tends to publish paper, literatures, journal, those kind of things. social science tend to publish a lot more on the books. But the increasingly important people start looking at intellectual property, patents, for example. Some universities want to position themselves as an innovation university. And I noticed that even in Singapore, there's always a competition between National University of Singapore and Nanyang Technology University. And as obviously shown up in the ranking, those are the top two universities in Singapore. And in the early day, they always look compete among themselves, almost on the same area. And over the recent year, you start seeing that NTU start to position themselves as a more innovative university by doing a lot more work with collaboration with companies, doing commercialization, focus on intellectual properties, and so on and so forth. Whereas NUS start to build out their capability on basic science, probably even looking at Nobel laureates for the future. So there's a different direction that they're moving, and it can be interesting. And you look at like what you have in Thailand, there's so many universities. If everybody trying to do the same thing, may not necessarily a good thing. So all this information, whether it's ranking, whether it's a citation index, and so on, is helping you to take a closer look where you want to go to for the next step. And this is one of the examples that when I look at the patterns in the region, even there's a lot more collaboration than the research activity. So you look at like Singapore, there's only like 16% of their pattern is through collaboration, which what I'm looking at as a joint assignee with the corporate. But most of them predominantly are all done by themselves. Malaysia is actually moving quite strongly, building up their intellectual property in the university. And again, the same thing happened. Most of those come from their own, with very little activity collaborated with the corporate. Definitely you can see that Thailand is still a lot more to improve for intellectual property. And this is, I captured the data from our Thomson Reuters Durban pattern information. So just giving you an example that the count amount of collaboration is very low. Even when you look at Singapore, they only collaborated with a couple of patents. And in some countries like Malaysia, hardly anything really easily to pull out from some of these top patterns that we are looking at in our Durban database. So the point here is kind of like reconfirm what we've seen early on, that even in innovation, there's a lot of space for improvement through collaboration. And of course, not to mention that in the scientific world, in the research world, we are talking about early on, which have a big contribution to the university ranking. There's a lot more room for every university and every researcher to reach out to do collaboration. There's a lot of information available, whether from Time Higher Education, from different ranking websites. Even for Thomson Reuters, we have this highlycited.com, which you can always access to it and take a look. What are the papers, what are the researchers that are highly cited? I mean, these are not by university, but these are the individuals or even paper level that you could take a look. And it's important that for you to take a look, not only just for the sake of ranking, but also for the sake of reaching out to the community and start collaborating, for you to understand the trend of the research world, because this is very important. I know there's always another channel that most researcher community would do is through their conferences and seminars, but this is a portal that fairly easily for you to access and give you a quick snapshot how the work looks like, because it keeps changing. Recently, actually, we published this, the World Most Influential Scientific Minds 2014. And within, there are 3,200 top researchers in the world. Actually, I do not know how many coming from Thailand. I didn't, oh, there's one, all right. So actually there's one researchers inside the 3,000 over top researchers. Singapore, I think they have 4, and I think Malaysia have like 3 or 4. It actually gets some media attention, interestingly. Again, this is the kind of work that we, Thomson Reuters, have been doing, outlining some of the top best research individuals in the world. And it is not about ranking again. Within there's some profile and the kind of research work that they are focusing. My biggest takeaway from here is that ranking, yes, is going to be very important, and I believe it will stay for a long, long time. But at the same time, you start seeing that ranking get more sophisticated as every country will start looking at in the different criteria. And it is important part of it because government need that to make their decision for budget allocation, for the direction of the knowledge-based economy. But more importantly, I think everyone in this room got to know that to build this ranking, there's a lot of data behind it. And all this can be very useful information for all of us to look at what you want to do next, whether at the university level, department levels, and the individual levels. So while everybody can get very excited with ranking, I do urge you that look at the detail. Even your university ranking could be 300 or 400. There's a lot of good stuff behind that you could put it out and start doing a good job and making a better decision for your success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Wong, for sharing with us your thoughts and the presentation there. Very much appreciated indeed, and we look forward to hearing more about your thoughts and opinions later on during the panel discussion. Moving right along to the last speaker for today, we have Narderdee Arj-Harnwong, the Vice President of Human Resource Thailand and Indochina, Unilever Thai Trading Limited. Now, Narderdee started her HR career with the CP Group back in 1993 and rose to head the retail HR organization for Tesco Lotus after the UK retailer acquired the hypermarket business in Thailand from CP back in 1998. She then joined Nokia in 2005 as the head of HR for Indochina, covering Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, and subsequently moved to Nokia Siemens Network as sub-region Asia. And she joined Unilever in 2010, and she is now going to be telling us about whether or not university rankings have an effect on the employment decision and research and development partnership decisions as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome her, Narderdee Arj-Harnwong.
Hi everybody. I'm actually a little bit nervous to be here. I feel like I've been among all the professors. Seems like I go back in time, by the time that I was in the university and then talking to all the professors. But anyway, I'm really glad to be here today to share with you, how the university rankings, affect the offer, but this is within the Unilever context. Okay. Anyways, for us, Unilever, talent's always like very difficult to find. It's a scarcity, most in Thailand and also, in the Indochina or Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos that we are operating in. So the context that we were talking about is like to understand the challenges that the industry is facing, meeting its talent requirement, and how UK graduates have proven its advantage. Yeah, so the industry that we were talking about, to be specific, is FMCG, the fast-moving consumer goods, which Unilever is one of them in Thailand. Yeah. Now, our challenge: do we have the right talent to continue our success? Right. So this is a question that all the management in Unilever have to ask ourselves, all the time. Particularly as for example, like as the HR professional. HR head looking after, the country, multiple countries area here. This is the question that we ask. But maybe for all of us here, may ask why, maybe it's whether it's the same in all industry or all company or not. The reason why we have to ask this question because of who we are, and then what we do as a Unilever. Unilever is a multinational company. In Thailand, we are one of the biggest, right? So we have been operating in more than 150 countries, and Thailand is one of the biggest country worldwide. We operate with more than 400 brands, and I think 14 categories, of products, right? And then also sell it to, billions consumers all around the world. And we also employ over 170,000 employees worldwide. Particular for Thailand, we have over 4,000 employees. Have one head office and then 2 factories. And the factories in Thailand is one of the biggest in Unilever as well. That's one plant is very big. It's over 2,000 employees there. So it's quite challenging, to find talent, the right talents for the business today and also the business in the future. The company always have a really clear vision that we want to double size our business, within the 10 years time, and while also reducing the environmental impacts and create the positive thing to the society. So, the people who we want to attract to, they should be inspired in this business and also have the same mission, or believe in the same thing as us as well. So, so the question, like, do we have the right talent, to continue our success? Always, like, keep us awake, that whether we have the right talent now, and we can build them to cope with the uncertainty of the business in the future or not. Yeah. So, Unilever, as I mentioned, we have 4,000 employees. We operate in so many functions. From like supply chain to CD, customer development, or the sales and marketing, which is the department that we are famous for. And we also have the HR, finance, and Thailand also be the R&D hub as well. So each year, we hire many hundreds of the employees, the new employees. And, but in this context that we're gonna talk about, will focus on the position called Unilever Future Leader Program. Technically, it's a management program for Unilever. Yeah. So, because this position we hire from we call it new entry, it means that we hire from the fresh graduate, master degree, the one that graduated from the master degree will go right to this program. Yeah. So this program wants to develop the leaders for tomorrow business today. Yeah, it's a world-class program, transform graduates into leader, delivering global positioning in the employment market, and ensuring one global currency of management trainee talent across Unilever around the world. So it means that within Unilever, we have this program, Unilever Future Leader Program. We run across the many countries, right? The same program. You can apply in UK, you can apply here and there, but if you want to work here, and your information will come online to Thailand, for example. And then after they are in the program or graduate from the program, they will be Unilever Global Talent. They'll be moved around. It depends on their availability if they can move. Yeah. The fast fact of this program is we got almost 300,000 applications, in 2012. This is the latest statistic. And successful rate is around less than 1%. So it means it's very, they have very tight process, to really get them in. This program run in 50 countries, including Thailand. And we are recruiting 47 trainees, almost 50 in the last 4 years. 1/3 of them, have been graduated already and then become our manager while they were very young, in marketing, CD, like sales area, or supply chain or finance, right? So The good thing about this program is like we attract the top tier graduates who aspire to succeed in a world-class careers in company with eyes for sustainability. Like I mentioned before that for Unilever, even we do business, we want to double size our business. We want to sell more products, like you see the 40 brands, and I believe that you guys here have been using our products at any point of time in one day. Yeah. So, but we are not only inspired to grow the business only, but we want to do something good for the Thai community and the Thai society as well. So for our future leader, we also look for the people who are inspired to do business, become the management, but also want to do something good, to the Thai community or the Thai society that we are operating in. So it just makes the job more meaningful and valuable, right? It's not just doing business, you can do something that, you think that you leave something good or leave the legacy to it. And also select the graduates who have the knowledge, skills, ability, and attitude to become the future leader. You have to have both, graduate from the university, you may have some knowledge, you have some skill or ability, you show the potential, but you have to have the right attitude and have the motivation fit with the company as well, so you'll be the right, future leader. Just to explain a little bit more, actually this program have been running in Thailand for longer than, I think, many years. But it's just the program have been changed and then have been lifted to be the global. If you have heard about Unilever, people have believed that we are the school, that produce the talent and the leaders for the Thai FMCG, industry, right? So, so this program, have been creating or producing a lot of management, however, lately we have the challenge that, some of the management trainee or the UFLP program that we have hired, they are very capable. Yeah, if they can pass the process that I can share with you in a short period of time, like they have to pass the test, some kind of written test, and pass the phone interview. Yeah, where you have the specific questions to check whether you have the certain attributes, that fit Unilever. And then after that, instead of like one-on-one interview that normally the company would do, actually what we do is we call this process the assessment center. So they would join the assessment center, for example, like 6 of them in one assessment center, and then do the business case and would be observed by 6 or around 6 assessor or the our management, and then we'll see everything from them, and then we discuss, and then we select the best, that come up the assessment center. So it's very tough process, right? However, after they joined us for a few years time, and then they left. Most of them before, and most of them left because we picked the best one, but actually we didn't try to check the motivation fit at the time, that whether are they inspired to work in the FMCG business, are they inspired by our products, that sell to the consumer, like whether do they like to sell this to make sure that our famous brand still continue to be famous and then relevant to the consumer, and it can be sold to the consumer, right? We didn't check that. So after that, I thought, actually, it's not right to get just the best, the best one, but actually no feeling about the company or the FMCG or our mission at all. So in terms of the screening now, after passing all that, we also check whether they have the right motivation, to get into Unilever or not. Are they inspired to sell the products to all kinds of walk of life as consumer? And are they inspired by our sustainability agenda that want to do something good to the Thai society or to the world or not? Yeah, and do they, have any experience, do something for the community apart from really get a good score, from the university? Yeah, so that we added in, and then so far the one that we got, they pretty much fit. They fit academically in terms of knowledge and everything, and they so fit motivationally in terms of inspiration to work within the FMCG and have the intention to stay in the long term. the funny part that I experienced, like, you know, when we, our UFLP in the very first batch, you know, after 1 or 2 years, you know, they join. Actually, they're doing great in the program because very talented, right? But then they resign to become a musician. I'm like, okay, not even go to other company, but become the musician, you know, or become the pilot, something like that. So then that's why, you know, this part is so still important. And then the third thing about the UFLP features is accelerate the development of the top talent through early international exposure, job rotation, and structured ongoing education. So when they join this program, they'll go through the job rotation. So within 3 years' time, they've been moved around, but they have to do the real job, not only the typical trainee program. They have to really understand and learn the business quickly and then deliver, do actual project, really hands-on and doing something, and then at the end have the outcome or deliverables, right? And also within the 3 year times, they're gonna have the international rotation as well. So they'll be sending to other countries that Unilever operate in. It depends on what area of focus that they are, you know, and then what kind of company, what kind of country that can offer that. For example, if they would like to understand the modern trade business, and then we send them to Australia, for example, if you talk about the Southeast Asia and Australasia context, right? Like Australia operate with the modern trade, you know, environment, something like that. Or general trade, we send them to Indonesia, yeah, because it's one of the biggest operation there. So this is all the UFLP, and then the things that I'm be speaking about, it will be under this context, like how we select the future leader to come to this program, and how the education or the UK education matters, you know, to us or not. Yep. And what we are looking for, apart from the you know, the knowledge and the skill and then ability. You know, I also mentioned actually they have to have the right attitude or some soft side that would fit us, that they can fit now and also can grow our business in the future as well. We call it JDI, is major attributes that we require for our leaders, no matter what level, yeah, even with our management trainee. So JDI stands for judgment, drive, and influence. Yeah. So for the judgment, yeah, there are 3 things, you know, under the judgment. Like, okay, I think in the nutshell, right? When you become the management, yeah, you are the leaders. You cannot shy away from making decision. So the decision that you have to make the right decision. So under the judgment, right? They should show the ability that they can spot the issues, anticipate and respond to the dynamic environment, because FMCG is very fast moving and things change very fast. They have to be comfortable making decision and then the right decision. And rigor, you know, bring powerful analysis into the issues and uses logic and intuition in decision making. Still related to the decision making thing, you know. All the things that we do, we put the rigor on that. It means the expectation is not only the standard one, you know, always like higher. So it means that in the things that you do, you have to put the rigor, make it better, try to make it world-class or whatever, or the best practice, become the best practice later. And framing, right? We also joke among our board, you know, how to frame the issues actually is part of the leader's quality as well, like how you can frame the issues and how you can bridge the insights and create the coherence from complexity. So framing the issue, but not flaming the issue. Like, you know, when we have the stuff, like you flame it, you make it worse. Actually, it's not a nice one. You have to frame the issue, get it the right context, and then discuss, and then making the decision, for example. In terms of drive, of course, as a leader, you have to have the drive. You should have the inspiration, you know, aspiration to grow your career, right? But not all of you have to be like that, but at least, you know, if you're inspired to become a leader, you have to keep on having the right motivation, you know, continuous motivation on that. So one is aspiration, focus on succeeding and having a significant impact on the world. So in Unilever, we believe that, you know, we want to make a difference every day, yeah, no matter what positions you are or what level you are, yeah. And then initiative, have the courage, you know, to try something new. have some creativity or innovation, all the time. We cannot happy with the status quo or the things that we used to be doing for many, many decades. I think things have been changed. We have to challenge ourselves to do something new all the time. Even sometimes it's trial and error, but once you have the calculated risk, then you should go ahead and then do it, right? Self-assurance, you have to be confident with yourself, believe in your ability, yeah. And then the last group of attributes is inference, because working with people, the inferential skills is very important, yeah. You have to have the know how to influence other people in a positive way, right? So you have to have self-awareness. To be able to influence others, you have to have the self-awareness first. Yeah, uses balance insights and grow professionally and personally. Confident with yourself, and then still keep yourself growing, right? Have the environmental radar, mindful and responsive to the context and audience, and then the individuals. Some kind of evaluate the environment, and then all the team, climate or atmosphere, so you'll be able to influence better. And range of influence are impactful and flexible, communicating and influencing. So it's about the influencing. So this is what we are looking for. Unilever people should have this, and then the higher they get it to the hierarchy, there's some attributes that will be more important, or need the higher level of this. Yeah, but overall it governs everybody, within the organization. So this is what we are looking for. So now you may just asking now that then if Unilever use this, to select people, so what is the name of university? Does matter, right? So actually Unilever globally, yeah, we don't have in general context now, and this is exclude the R&D. Yeah, I'm not going to cover R&D, but in terms of the other go-to-market functions like sales, marketing, HR, finance, supply chain, all these departments, our policies, like we are not really specifically have the specified on the ranking or have the university ranking requirement. But just what I mentioned before, that we have some certain attributes. And then I think, the good university who have earned the good rank, would produce the very highly skilled and then a high capability graduates, right? And then let's look at the statistics. So we are not talking about, this is not only my observation, but this is come from the statistics of the, our recruitment, Now, so far, with this selection for the UFLP positions, very interesting by being asked to be a guest speaker here. So we have pulled the data of our UFLP graduates profile, and then check where they come from, because we don't have the specific policy to recruit from the top 5 or 10 or 100 universities, right? So actually, for the people UFLP program, almost 90% are overseas masters. Yeah, actually, we are open for overseas and Thailand, but it just happened like people who have passed the the assessment center become almost 90% from abroad, graduate from abroad, and majority are graduate from UK. So probably you guys will be pleased here. So actually, 60%, over 60% of the people who graduate abroad, it came from the UK university, yeah. And we have the mixes of across tiers university, create diverse thoughts and talents. And then this is derived from the fact that I said that we don't have the specific policy to recruit from where, right? But and it's by design, by intention, because we are selling products to all kinds of consumers, that are in the different segments. So in terms of the team, we want the diversity. Actually, we want our UFLP or even our employees that came from the different profile, all kind of classes, so no discrimination. We want male, we want female, we want Thai graduate, we want international graduate, because we want the mix. Yeah, but it just end up that the quality that passed the assessment center particularly for the UFLP program, it become that, most of them are international graduated, and then, most of them came from UK. And then you can look at this, from second to UK, right? It's USA, UK is 29 people out of 47, so it's 62%, and followed by USA, and followed by Thailand, and then a bit from the Australia, Sweden, and Germany. Yeah. And if you look at whether these universities are ranked, where are they ranked, right? So 1/3 of them, like almost 30%, are the top 100 ranking at the time, and where we can find the information. Yeah. And then 21% is ranked from the top 200, so 101 until 200. And then the rest is like, it's miscellaneous, all over the place. And if you are interested in looking the university, the name of the university, so we got UFLP trainees that came from, 6 of them that came from 2 universities, total 12, is Warwick and Imperial. Yeah, and then the rest is like 1 or 2. So very interesting facts. Actually, it's not by intention. We always like look for the diversity, but I believe that, the rank does matter. The high ranked university have produced the graduates, one that, they have the high capability and so knowledge and skill that would be selected through the very tough screening and selection process as Unilever. Yeah. Now, so then, we were talking about that already, what makes the UK education different. You can see from the statistic. And then we already summarized a bit for you that, why it happened like that. Maybe because, UK got the unique course offering with a short duration of graduation. So most of the Thai students like to select, to study in the UK because it's shorter. And then also a balanced approach of both academic and non-academic matters. This is under the personal development thing. So, for example, like when we select the graduate students, we also ask them, apart from the graduate or academic or work that they do, what kind of non-academic work that they've done? Have they joined the club? Have they joined the community service? What they're inspired for? Put everything together when we're making decision. And then UK also offer career opportunities because it gives them the advantage compared to the local graduates. They will have the plus more. And then all this, sorry for the wordy one, actually we also interviewed our UFLP trainees, for this purpose. What do they think? Why do they select the UK? I think, in terms of, they select because of the course, there's more varieties of the course, or they select because of the reputation, the way the university have been ranked, or they've been selected because of the duration, that's only like 12 months or 1.5 years, which is shorter than study in other countries. Or this also give them kind of the additional assistance. For example, one have been mentioned that, there's a full-time, well-experienced coaches who, upon reservation, will provide one-on-one review on the CV and advise how to make them more impactful. So this is the service that's been provided from the university. And then one thing that, our UFLP said that, by study abroad, it gives them the more exposure and then understand the Western thinking, which is apart from, have the English capability, because you have to live there, you have to speak English, all the time. Actually, Thai University also offer the international program and speak English, but it's still, that's according to what they said, it still offer you the Thai context one, the Thai, English, but with the Thai context. So if they need something different, they go abroad. So this is what we prepare for, and I covered already. So now you know whether the ranking does matter to Unilever. I think it does, but not according to the policy. But it just happened like with the higher quality of the university, it will help the students, the graduated student can get the job that they inspired to go to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Narderdee. If you can remain on stage, we are now going to go straight into the panel discussion here. We don't have that much time, so we're going to quickly do this. So if the hotel staff could clear the stage, Narderdee, you could take that seat right there, and I'd like to invite Phil Baty up on stage as well, also Professor Dr. Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson up on stage once again to join us for that. And of course, we have Dr. Wong, if you can also kindly join us up on stage. Now, we do welcome all questions, and I'm going to keep my questions brief and offer you all the opportunity to ask or perhaps share with us your thoughts and your opinions. But we'll be focusing on university rankings, a boost or a hindrance for benchmarking and improvement as universities seek integration with the new ASEAN Economic Community, the AEC, that will be realized at the end of 2015 if they don't ask for a further extension of that. So previously, it was going to happen early 2015, but now it's been pushed back till the end of 2015, the realization of the AEC. All right, so I'll just remain here so I don't have to fight for a microphone. Now, let's go straight into it. University rankings, a boost or a hindrance for benchmarking within ASEAN? How about we start with Phil?
Is it on? Oh, it's on now. Well, I guess my response to that will be rather predictable, and I'd say absolutely a boost. I think the most important thing with rankings is that we understand the methodologies and we unpick the composite scores. So, of course, the rankings tend to be set up towards the world-class research universities along the lines of your Harvards and your Stanfords and Oxford and Cambridge, and not all the universities in Southeast Asia will aspire to that sort of status, will have that as their mission. Rankings should be mission conscious. So that's why I think it's important that we at Times Higher Education, we try and allow the disaggregation of the data as much as possible. We break down the composite scores. We try and go deeper into regions where we're able to maybe verify the methodology, vary the methodology. When we're looking at the emerging economies rankings, for example, we're considering proposals to reduce the research output requirements, reduce the weighting given to research and emphasize other areas. So we think if you disaggregate the rankings, pull them apart, they're a fantastic opportunity for you to benchmark against your own mission, your own priorities. And I think the great thing we've achieved with Thomson Reuters is we now have a database with global data definitions, global data sets, and using the most sort of rigorous trusted standards created in consultation with the world higher education. We've created performance indicators that really matter to the entire world and benchmarks that everyone can aspire to.
Dr. Wong, your thoughts? Further expand on that, perhaps.
Well, definitely from a research perspective, we see a lot of research activity in ASEAN. And I think what getting me to get more excited about it is that I see also a lot of collaboration between the ASEAN university outside with the region, even in China, Japan, and of course the traditional one like Europe and the US. I think that itself is very mission driven, like what been mentioned by Phil. A lot of this ranking, you have to come along with what is the direction you want to go to. And I see that a lot of university today in ASEAN, it's not about just looking at moving up in their ranking. They want to do well in a different research area. I think some of the universities, they want to be a better teaching university. So there's a lot of clarity on that as we see. And I think that is a good sign. And I think in the long term, we could see a lot more progress from the region.
Professor Jisnuson, let's hear your thoughts on that.
Well, World University rankings will provide a lot of information on different aspects. And like Phil said, you have to know which indices are available in each ranking system. And then you can use that either to benchmark universities within the group you're particularly interested in, like Thai universities, ASEAN universities. Or you can also use them to look at where you what your strong points are and what your weak points are. And if you know what your strong points are and your weak points are, you can then make strategies to try and improve the what you're weak in. I keep on talking about Mahidol University. I'm not trying to sell Mahidol University. It just happens to be that, I know more. And I think the problem with Mahidol University, it was founded in 1888 as Sirat Hospital, as a hospital. Then it became part of Chulalongkorn University, and then separated off into University of Medical Sciences, 1943, and Mahidol University, 1969. So, name of Mahidol University starts 40 years ago. The name of Chulalongkorn University is almost 100. So we have a problem about visibility. And as I said earlier, sometimes the faculties are stronger than the university. So this is kind of the information that you get from rankings, looking at peer review of Mahidol University compared to peer review of Chulalongkorn University. Chulalongkorn University is always better than Mahidol University, I think, in peer review. So it helps you not only to compare with other universities, but to look at your own university and see how you can improve the university.
Yes.
I think this is from the private sector, probably different perspective, but just coincidentally, just like what Ajahn said, right? Within Unilever, we also do a lot of benchmarking. Probably it's not the official ranking, compare ourselves, how well we are doing with other Unilever countries, right? And actually benchmarking is benchmarking. We cannot do 100% benchmark, but as long as we can use that information for us to inspire ourselves to do better. So if other university or other companies, Unilever, in Unilever context, is doing better than us, we use that, to learn more about them and then to make ourselves become better or improve. So it depends on what we want also. So we use, so what I'm trying to say is that we use this as an aspiration for our continuous improvement, in the area that we want to be famous for. That's one thing. And then I think, in terms of the ranking in the university context, but looking from the corporate context, when we want to hire people from the graduate from the university, actually all the universities have been famous for different area in terms of subjects, right? But for me as an HR professional from the private sector or as an employer, we want the students that graduate from the university and know what they want in life. Normally sometimes they can be good at academic, but then they don't know what they want. They kind of still soul searching and then try and error. Let's do this a bit and let's try that. I think it's quite difficult for us. So it's good that if the university help them to really understand what they want in life, apart from the give them the academic, the knowledge stuff, it would be great.
Not that they join Unilever and then decide, oh, that's it for me, I want to go and be a pilot or a musician, as you earlier told us. Now, let's talk about university rankings attracting students. Phil mentioned that, yes, it has a great effect on students opting to go here and there, so perhaps they want to go to the best university in the world, the second best, all right? And also, let's talk about securing funds with these university rankings. Can you further expand on that?
Yeah, well, there's a strong sense, of course, that the rankings do give you visibility. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that the higher ranked you are, the more successful you are in attracting international students. I think that's natural that the students, their families are making a big decision, often investing large sums of money. They do need that reassurance. The family demands a prestige education. They want reassurance that the university they're attending is well recognized. It's the sort of passport for their lives. And I think that's quite natural. Even that's why I think rankings at the overall institutional level are very important. Of course, to inform student decision making, we're trying to do more and more subject level rankings and mission-specific rankings as well to inform student choice. So I think actually the way the Times Higher Education rankings work, it's very positive that it's not just a sort of static list. It doesn't just have Harvard at the top forever and Asian universities low down and stuck at the bottom. And I think that's one of the problems with things like the Shanghai ranking. It's such a, its metrics are set up in a way that it's not very dynamic at all. So it's universities in Asia struggle to get recognition. So one of the great things is I think ranking success can actually produce further ranking success because it attracts the inward investment, it attracts the inward talent, and I think that's very important. In terms of investment, I think it's just very good for universities or countries, national governments to see if we want to be competitive on a world stage, if we want to ensure our universities are at the forefront of knowledge creation, that are helping to drive the economy in Thailand, to get the economy out of the middle income trap and push further with innovation and higher skills. You can show that rankings are actually a really important driver of economic success because good quality universities, well funded, will always return the investment. So if the taxpayer invests in universities, the universities will give the money back through greater economic growth and larger economic returns. I think they're a wonderful benchmark for individual consumer choice and of course for governments and policy makers to start informing policy decisions.
Dr. Wong, if you can reflect on that as well, please.
Well, I can share a little bit closer to myself because my son just just finished a national service in Singapore, and he needs to choose what to study in the university in Singapore.
Yes.
And the first thing he looked at was ranking.
There
and
you go.
he said, well, maybe National University Singapore is the best one because look at the ranking of QS or Time Higher Education. So I was asking him, do you want to know more about ranking? I can connect you with Baty if you want to. But I think the point here is that a lot of students, or a lot of people that they came out, they want to look for university, definitely ranking play a part here. But I think at some point, more importantly, is the individual need to know what you're going after. What's your vision, what's your objective, what you want to be in the future. Do you want to be in engineering or in accountant and stuff like that? And I think the university ranking actually have a lot of information behind it, helping them to make that decision. And it is important that we share more about insight about the university ranking, like what Phil say, how to make it more transparent and people start better understand how to make their decision. So to answer that, my son eventually chose none of those universities. He actually ended up with the Singapore University of Technology and Design, who not even in the ranking yet. It's a university in Singapore.
There you go. All right. Now, Professor, what are your thoughts on that? What if you could focus on Thai students looking for a place to go and study? Are they concerned about ranking?
I think the concern is about reputation, really in general, rather than, I don't know whether students actually go and look at rankings, different ranking systems when they choose a university, but they will consider the reputation of university and compared to their own capabilities. So the strong student will try to go for the so-called best universities in the world.
If I may just interrupt here, there is definitely a comparison among local universities, Chulalongkorn, Mahidol, Thomson. Do they now tend to expand and go further, regional, internationally as well?
You mean students?
Thais.
Well, I think so. My daughters. Right?
Another personal account.
Okay. My daughters. My elder daughter went abroad when she was about 12 years old. We gave both daughters opportunity to study abroad. the elder daughter went to study abroad and went to King's College and then master's at LSE. My younger daughter didn't want to go abroad and studied at Chulalongkorn University in international relations. But then she wanted to study abroad, and she went to the SOAS, School for Oriental and African Studies, and that's also a good London university in the London system. So that extra, I think that element is important, that once students graduate in Thailand, many of them will be looking for education abroad, partly because to get the experience of being abroad, opportunities to improve their language capability, and it's a different way. Sometimes being university abroad is different from being a university in Thailand. In Thailand, at undergraduate level, you have to look at all the, you have to look at the subject matter a lot, prepare for your exams and multiple choice questions and so on. But I think universities have to do more for their students. I like what you said just now. I have a slide somewhere in one of my talks that universities should help students find themselves. And I think that's an important concept. And I would like to give that, throw that out to the staff from the different universities in Thailand. Don't just focus on the subject matter, but help the student to find himself. Okay, I think it's enough for me.
All right, thank you very much. Now, at this point, I would like to open the opportunity to the audience here to ask questions, because we only have about 10 minutes left. So, giving the chance to the audience to ask a question. Dr. Dan, you have a question. Do we have a microphone somewhere?
Thank you very much. I do appreciate so much all the efforts you put into all the presentations. Let me quickly say something and then ask one or two questions. One, it seemed clear to me over the discussion by our esteemed Professor Jisnuson that he made the sentence, you have to make a lot of effort to get into the ranking. That means there's something behind this that make it hard for those who are not in the ranking to get in there, probably the international outlook and things like that. But the world is a world of indexation. No matter we like it or not, it's the game that we need to play. And I hope that this game is useful, and I think it's useful. After 20 years of concluding this, I think there must be some rationale that people like Thomson's, Reuters, and the Time Hires, with the other ranking institutions in their association, provide some rationale behind some of the indications that they use, indicators. The weighting scheme, why are you choosing 20% that, 2% this? There must be some rationale provided for the public, for the public to understand how do you come up to that kind of thing. Why some indicators are included, why are not? Some rationale that needed to be put in. Some usefulness, user-friendly way to do things so that we can tap into your database and play ourselves with a simulation if we wanted to know how to move about in the ranking, so that we don't need to rely upon the very broad kind of performance result announcement that you made, so that we can go in and play around. Maybe an issue of more subject ranking, not just the overall university ranking. So it can be very useful for us to focus and able to push certain subject forward. So that would be some of the comments, for example. And if there are more times, I would be very happy to have a chance to chat with you. But let me ask now, two questions. One, I have been pushing Thailand to go on the ranking and have been written a lot on this for past 20 years. I'd like to see specifically Thailand, one of the university, become on the top 20 ranking in the world. If this is a problem that I set for you to answer, how would you advise us, all of you, strategically, concretely in our realistic situation, how to get there? That's point number one. Point number two, Peking universities and US in Singapore have done remarkably well in the last many years. What did they do that we can learn? And my last question, if we don't pump in the public money, we don't have that much. You can see from the figures that our politicians are very unwilling to give. If we wanted to get other kind of funding, private sector collaboration would be the way to go, but it's very tough to come by. How do we get there? If the government of China and the government of Singapore pump in lots of money, you can see the game being played well, so that they can attract their visibility and the ranking, which I predict they will continue to do well, given the opportunity they have and the money they pump in. We don't. How do we get there? Thank you very much.
All right, who would like to tackle that, the series of questions first? You, please, Phil.
Just to try and briefly cover that. In terms of the points you made, I think it's worth stressing that we are very keen as an organization to encourage transparency. So we have, for example, a free iPhone application that does allow you to play around with our weighting schemes. You can reduce the importance of some things rather than others, which helps you see the change in ranking positions. And of course, with all the tables we publish, they have a tab with the methodology explained in hopefully an accessible, user-friendly way. And then for the academics who want to delve further, there is a further documentation that can be requested. And of course, the great beauty of working with Thomson Reuters is some of the Thomson Reuters products allow you access to the raw data beneath the rankings, which really lets you start playing around with the information, finding out how you might improve, where you can change to see your comparator institution. So there are lots of initiatives underway to encourage that kind of transparency. So we're very much open to your suggestions. In terms of the questions, they're very tough. I wouldn't want to, we don't do any consultancy or advice because we want to just present the data and allow that data to inform decision making. So I wouldn't press to advise, but what I would say is that probably the harsh reality of world rankings is that the single most important factor in success is money. You need the money to draw in the talent, to pay the salaries, to build the equipment, to make sure you have the laboratory kit that's necessary to attract the world's leading scholars, and that's why Peking, Tsinghua, NUS have been so successful. I think one of the greatest positives of rankings, actually, not just to inform students and help them make good decisions, it's to actually say to governments, if you really want to compete on a world stage, if you really want to make sure your universities are at the highest level, you need to invest. Investment works. There's a clear sense that investment is having an impact. So as far as Thailand's concerned, I would say the relatively low positions in rankings are a fantastic tool to take to government and say, if we want to rise up, if we want to ensure our economic growth continues, if we want to get out of the middle income trap, we need to invest in our universities. They're a fantastic national asset. Look at the data. We need to do more and better, and we're making improvements. In terms of leveraging different cash, I think that is really important. Even the richest universities, they can't be completely dependent on government. You never know, as we've seen in Britain, in Western Europe, austerity has hurt. The government funding isn't always going to be on a tap that doesn't stop. Endowments, industry links, philanthropy, they're all very, very important aspects. I think the most successful one in East Asia has been to leverage business money. Businesses, they want innovation, they want new product development, they want to drive forward. So spending in places like Singapore on science, technology, engineering has been fantastic. The ability of Korean universities to leverage business funding, industry funding has been excellent. So it may be a question of the universities in Thailand going more aggressively to business, saying we want a greater share of your research and development money. Look what we can do for you. Look at the consultancy we can do. Look how we can help you innovate.
help you improve.
Thank you very much indeed there. Let's move on to Dr. Wong. Do you have anything to add to that, or what could you possibly suggest perhaps to Thai universities so that they can move up the ranks?
Well, I don't have that crystal ball, but definitely I echo what Phil said, that a couple of things here. One is that Thomson Reuters, we do have a lot of data and information that can be very helpful for you to look at what you want to do next. And the ranking is really just kind of like a normalize of everything. And even that, I think there's a lot of data beneath it that we're more than happy to work closely with you and share with you, helping you what should be the right thing to do. Now, kind of get back to how to bump up with the ranking. I think at some point it's a question about the country and even every university to think about, do you need to be the top 20 in the world? I mean, when you start benchmarking that whole ranking system, and I'm not against it, the point here is that there's this hypothesis that if every university in the world start benchmarking upon the same ranking, you know what? In 20 years later, all the universities look the same. And that would be very interesting. Do you want to live in the world that every university look the same? And you start looking at the information that what we have, and even from Thomson Reuters perspective, I have to share with you that on the science field, I think we can do a pretty good job with citation index. But we know that in art and humanity and social science, it's always a challenging area that, I mean, we also openly admit that it's not easy to have an indicator. And that's an area that can be very diverse, can be different by country and by culture. So for example, like if you think about you want to be the best musical school in the world, you might not even in the ranking. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just you not happen to play the game. And it's like what Phil said, you want to get the ranking, then you need a lot of investment because you come to research and science, it requires heavy investment of talents, equipment, laboratory, and so on. I think the real question is, do you want to be the top 20 in the world or not, based on the current ranking system?
Thank you very much for your thought there. Moving on to Professor. What can be done? How can we persuade the Thai government here to throw in more money into education? They keep on talking about educational reform, but it's never really happened, has it?
Well, let me take some of your earlier points. First of all, in the terms of the subject, I think that is important. I should have mentioned in the last question that students will also look at the reputation in different subject areas, not just at the overall ranking or reputation of the whole university. Point number two, the different KPIs and so on, that is really up to the agency devising the rankings. They have obviously thought a lot about it and decided to select certain ratios. Why some universities are not in the ranking in the first place, why Mahidol had a problem, I think it's simply because ranking systems, in my opinion, what I think anyway, is that they have to select a certain group of universities to start off with each country. There is a ranking system that covers 20,000 universities, and that is the Webometrics ranking. So they can do it more or less themselves, and so they get the broad coverage. Now to your last question, I guess, how should we move up into the top 20 or whatever? I think Phil mentioned a little bit. I think Singapore is a good example. You know, my Thai academics, many of them will say what they were doing was not right, was not a good thing for their country. But I think that it was good. They hired the top professors, researchers from all over the world, and gave them money to do their research, continue their research in Singapore. And they create the reputation of Singapore. Just quite recently, they started Institute of Immunology, and they got one of the big professors in there to start. So they now have the very top research institutes, not necessarily with the government, but top research institutes within the country under the name of A-STAR, the whole general system. So it needs investment, and you've got to be prepared to take in people from the outside. You can't just grow everything yourself. Hopefully the people who come in from the outside will gradually will disseminate their knowledge and help you develop the people within your country. But we can't be isolated, thinking in an isolated manner. And of course, money is vitally important. Perhaps I would leave that to you to try and help, get the government to invest more in the education system. It will be worth it, but it's hard to convince them to do so.
Narderdee, we're talking about funding investment now, and it's not just the government, but it's the private side. You representing the private side, CSR perhaps, what are some of your thoughts?
Okay. Just the right question. Actually, if you didn't ask that, I'm going to answer related to the budget thing, right? So within Unilever, we always thought that actually you want, we always ask ourselves when you have to, happen to come across a very difficult situation or we don't have enough budget or something, like you want to work for the company whose like aspiration come first and then resource come later, or you want to work for the company that resource first, including the money, and then aspiration come after. You know what I mean? So actually, everything started with what you want. If you're passionate about something, of course they always have the obstacles, to make it happen. But don't think of the obstacles first. Think of what you want. So with the Dr. Dan ใช่ไหมคะที่ถาม question, I'm very impressed by your energy and passionate, to make the Thai university to become the top 20 or something, right? So actually, if we want to be in this game, we should aspire to be the best, the number one, even you can achieve it or not achieve it, you may have to, climb up the higher rank. So actually the aspiration is so important in a way that, if you believe that it could happen and then we can do anything to make it happen, and then, all the rest will be sorted out. So even with the private sector, budget or resources still the challenge. It's not the free money everywhere. Yeah, but it's just the way, we do our business. Whether we were inspired to be the best and then try everything, even we have the limited resources or not. So that's where we come from.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Dan, for your questions and for the answers as well. We are running out of time. Opportunity for one final question from the floor. Any further questions? One last question from the gentleman there.
Dear sir, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Just past the noon mark.
On my side, I think when we're talking about ranking, it's just not only putting the money into the system. However, we need to change our culture of working also. At SUT, Suriname University of Technology, one time we go to Singapore, meet the administrator over there, and we find out that each renowned paper produced by National University of Singapore use less money, significantly less money than the one we use over here in my university. For example, I cannot remember the exact number. However, when we convert, the cost of producing a renowned paper in Singapore is maybe 300,000 baht a paper. However, in my university, we spend about 500,000 baht. That is a lot different when we compare the performance of working. Even though Singapore University tend to have a lot more money than Thai University. And I think one important thing is how the lecturer in the university can do that kind of performance. Another thing, the second thing is the culture of the private sector that need to develop their own knowledge compared to the company in the US. I believe the research money, most of them in the US come from the private sector. How about Thailand? We did a lot of measurement on tax reduction. I don't know what happened. How come SCG, PTT, those CP, those kind of big company won't make their own knowledge by putting a lot of money into the system? I still believe government have limited resources to support this kind of thing. I believe if the big company in Thailand involved with this kind of supporting the university in Thailand, Chulalongkorn University, Mahidol University, or also university, can go beyond we are now. Top 10, I think, in ASEAN is not far-reached.
Right.
I don't know, Professor Mahidol University is also Chulalongkorn University is the pillar of our nation. And right now is a good time if the university come together and talk with the Khosroch about this and do something that's going to be rigid to the system and make it more efficiently. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for voicing your thoughts there, Professor from Suratnari University there. Now, a final question here. As he was talking about collaboration and all the universities coming together, and we're talking about the AEC by the end of 2015, Phil, you said something which I thought was interesting. So with the integration, 10 nations coming together and hopefully pooling resources, and hopefully we'll see more universities in this region move up the ranks. Do you think this is very possible? How is it going to be done? If we could have quickly your thoughts on this from all four of you to wrap things up.
Yeah,
1 minute each.
There was something I heard which has always stuck with me. If you give away your money, you lose the money. If you give away your knowledge, you retain that knowledge and it grows. So I think there's an important part about anything that encourages more cooperation, more collaboration, more partnerships, more mobility within a region will be a really positive force in higher education. On the point about the culture of working, I think you're absolutely right. It's not just about the money, it's about how the money's spent through strategic leadership, through performance management of individuals, through often ruthless leadership. But I think in terms of economic cooperation, the flow of talent, the critical mass of talent, the pooling of expertise, the pooling of resources can only be a positive force.
Thank you. Next, Dr. Wong.
Yeah, I think the key is continue to collaborate in the region, and definitely the whole integration will bring that effort comes much more effective together. And every university should start to think about what's their strength, what's their weakness, and how to reach out, increase the visibility. That will help eventually to move out in the university ranking.
Professor.
I think the new effort, the world-class university effort, really covers a lot of your points. First of all, in terms of administration, we need to get an administration system that works better than it does today. Secondly, in terms of the interaction with companies, there is a component in the system that is looking at industry, university collaboration and joint projects. SEG are doing to some extent, and also POTT doing to some extent funding into the universities. And the final component, I think, is this internationalization, or, well, not the final component, two components within the WCU project. One is the international networking within the Thai university system, and also interaction with overseas. So all your points really, I hope, will be addressed in this new program, provided we get some money. We are not aiming to get everything from the government. Certainly the private sector needs to help.
So yes, the vision is there, the world-class university projects, along with a slew of other projects. We're just lacking the funding. And as you said, Professor, it's not just the government, but the private sector. To wrap things up, please, 1 minute.
I think budget-wise, I think another issue is like what we said. But I think in terms of the collaboration between the education or the universities with the private sector, right? Particularly speaking from Unilever, we also help the education. But in terms of like, we are famous for, we are the biggest FMCG. We have the leaders who have the knowledge and capability within FMCG field, right? So we have been working with the key universities in Thailand already, actually, just to share that knowledge and capability, to make sure that, anything that we are good at, we, work with the university or the Arj-Harnwong professor to help, transfer that knowledge to the students. So that's one thing. Financially, we have done some, but not that big scale. I think the big scale is just like to help, provide, the knowledge, that we are famous for. Yeah, and this has been working really well. For example, today's session also showcased that how we want to contribute to the education, industry, because actually nothing much related to Unilever in terms of very academic, thing, but we want to contribute where we can.
Thank you so very much to all the 4 speakers up on stage here. A big round of applause for them for being with us today. And now I'd like to invite Kun Shannon Dan, Regional Manager for ASEAN at Thomson Reuters, to present each and every one of them here a souvenir for their presence with us, coming in to share with us their thoughts. Yes, up on stage then. To Phil. Thank you very much, Phil, for taking the time, stopping by here in Bangkok. I believe you are going to be heading to Myanmar next. So once again, thank you very much indeed for stopping by. Dr. Wong, we thank you as well. And Professor Dr. Arj-Harnwong Jisnuson Sawattiwat. And of course, Narderdee. So if we can gather up here on stage for a group photo very quickly. And then I'd also like to invite for the group photo Kun Chris Gibson. All right, Kun Chris joining them on stage. Kun Andrew Yo, Kun Caroline Chipperfield up on stage for the group photo there. If we can all squeeze in. Perhaps step forward. And yes, if Professor can step forward. And a big smile for the photographer there. Once again, thank you so very much to each and every one of you for your presence with us. Thank you very much to the co-organizers, British Council, Thomson Reuters, Office of the Higher Education Commission. We are going to wrap up now with the closing words. I'd like to invite Kun Caroline Chipperfield, the Deputy Director of Education of British Council, to say to deliver the closing remarks.
Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming to the seminar today. I hope you have found it as informative and insightful as I have. It's been absolutely amazing this morning. It's been food for thought. So thank you to our speakers who have provided such thought-provoking challenges and presentations, and also for the debate at the end there, which again was very informative. So to close, I just wanted to share with you some final thoughts, and from today they're centered around two words. The first word is acceleration, and the second word is globalization. And in listening to the presentations today, those two words kept emerging. In regard to acceleration, the pace of change within higher education is increasing. And being in this region, I think we feel it, the most really, that change is within us. And this is due to many factors, whether it is technology, student demand, economic development, but it's a clear acceleration in this pace of change. The other is globalization, and all universities are operating in a global marketplace. Whether you are locally facing, whether you are a national state university, we are in a global marketplace. And I think we are really considering our education as education systems rather than institutions. We're thinking regions rather than just nations. And so it's important that we think in global terms. So with the pace of change and the emphasis on a global marketplace, what can we do? What do we need? And I think today, the discussion around university rankings is that they can provide a really valuable set of metrics. And these metrics can help us in our drive for change. So I hope today has been an introduction to those for you. I hope it has given you the spark to start the discussion, to take the challenge back to institutions and organizations. But I think for the real transformation, the emphasis is on you. So it's time to open up that toolbox and to make a start. So good luck, and please start the debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you as well, Caroline Chipperfield, Deputy Director in Education for East Asia British Council, for the closing remarks. Now that's going to wrap things up for today, but if you could kindly fill out the questionnaire, the evaluation form there, because we're hoping to have a series of such seminars and would like to improve as we go along. And once again, thank you very much indeed to all the organisers, co-organisers, be it British Council, Thomson Reuters, the Office of the Higher Education Commission, the Ministry of Education of Thailand. Thank you very much indeed to all the speakers as well for making today a possibility. Now we do have tea and coffee refreshments being served outside, so you might want to enjoy that before you head out. Once again, thank you. I'm Pachari Raksa Wong Kinsperge. Sawadee ka.